Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. It's the Round Table, and we do this the final Friday of each month where I bring in some friends to talk about the weird and strange in the month that was. And I've got poofy hair tonight. Very poofy hair. Wasn't supposed to be like this after a good shampoo and conditioning, but it went that way. What do you do? What do you do? The hands sometimes do not dictate what the hair is going to do. Tonight, we're going to be joined by Dirty Filth. He'll be drawing some cartoons. Grant Tavius is here. Bree, a.k.a. Thin Lizzie Borden. We're waiting for potentially Science Bob, if he's not asleep right now. Tim, Seanor, and Nicole Sakach will be here a little bit later on. But first, let's say hello to everyone in our chat room tonight. Race fan in the gold medal position. Awesome Man B takes home the silver, with Evan Walters earning his first bronze medal tonight. Roy Boy, nice to see you. Eddie Rodriguez, thanks for coming on in. Eddie will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. John Hinojosa, lovely Laura, nice to have you here. As we continue on with roll call, Be More Dan, nice to have you here. Awesome Man Palmer, good to see you. Latro, nice to have you back. There's North Bama. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. As we continue on with roll call, and there is the gorgeous Amy W.C. She is gorgeous and stunning. She even typed it out herself. Thank you for making that easy for me. And we continue on. Jonathan, welcome to SOR Chat. Black Dragon, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. Veterans always have a safe home here in our chat room. Let us move on here. And there's lovely Lisa Compton. And Luscious Jules is here. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio. To the right of the studio. Brown Dwarf, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. And who else? Joshua Gordon, thank you for joining us. And there's Kentucky Robert. Give us a wave. He always waves back if you give him a wave, by the way. And moving on here, there's the lovely Jenny, one of our favorite wrenches. And who else is here? We have, it just keeps scrolling. Holy cow, I swear my scrolling fingers in slow motion today. Marty Burback in the studio. How you guys doing? Thanks for joining us. All right, there's Mennonite Abe. Ibarata from Singapore. How you been doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Jay Breezy, good to have you back. Paris Solo, thanks for coming on in. Bobbert, good to see you. Muth, welcome to SOR Chat. Jessica S., looking stunning tonight. There's Arlene Atkinzel, looking awesome tonight. The gorgeous Dutch princess, Sally Vandevoort, has returned. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. And there is Terry Hall, Jazzy Small, Mennonite Abe. YJ Overlanders looking good tonight. And there's number 13 in your program, starting at center ice, Lars Janssen. Janssen. John Balderman, nice to see you. Mennonite Abe, thank you so much for the super chat. YJ as well. Really appreciate your love and support. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio. Downshift, the Doug Shelby has arrived, people. The Doug Shelby is here. Galactic, welcome to SOR Chat. the gorgeous Kathleen Hughes, Trey Crothers, welcome to SOR chat. And we are running out of time here, but that's okay. Glenn Dennison, good to see you. And YJ, thank you so much for that super chat as well. Really appreciate your love and support. Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon, is here. And who else do we have here? Christian Morales, welcome to SOR chat. And Downshift, good to see you. Raven is Ryan, thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous Dizzy Me, welcome back to the show. Jessica Holman, welcome to SOR chat. And hold on, I better start the radio side. Otherwise, that'll really suck if we don't. Who else do we have here? I know I'm missing a bunch, but that's okay. Do me a favor, everyone. Horns up. Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find it on our website. We got a great show for you tonight because it is the SOR Roundtable. And this is where we kind of divert from our normal things at night. And we go and we bring in a nice panel to tell you what has been going on, to debate, discuss everything in the month that was. And this has been a very, very large and hard month, especially in the UFO world. Why? Geez, so much going on. There's the Brazil hearings in their Congress. There is Travis Taylor coming out as a double agent. We have so much more. Luis Elizondo disappears. We have Canada opening up. And what about this? A potential satellite going missing for a couple of hours and then reappearing right back where it disappeared from. Holy cow, we got it going tonight. So far, we have Grant Baker and Thin Lizzy from the After Hours show on the weekends. We are soon going to be joined by Tim Seanor. Nicole Sakach will join us at the bottom of the hour. And that's what we're going to run with tonight. Dirty Filth will start on his cartoons as well. Grant, Bree, how you guys doing? Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's been great, man. Hey, thank you for having us on the roundtable tonight. This is awesome. This is an epic panel.
It will be. It will be. We're halfway there. I love it when I'm surrounded by my own crew, especially on the weekends for our radio audience. If you head on over to our YouTube and Twitch channels on the weekends, you can see Grant and Bree do an amazing show that we call After Hours on the weekend, and joined by BigWilly, who's not here tonight, but has an amazing beard nonetheless. And that's what we absolutely love. So let's start it off nice and simply and gently here. Grant, we'll start with you. It has been a month of UFOs. Everything has been about UFOs. The news has been about UFOs. The rumors have been about UFOs. The government, we're going to get more hearings, and where are these hearings? They're not around. What is happening with these hearings? And then you find out all this other news. I mean, are you UFO'd out yet?
Oh, no. Oh, this is amazing. This is, we used to talk about, the hearing was just a bunch of nothing burger. But right now, this is an exciting time. We are in the midst of everybody getting involved. I mean, other countries are getting involved. There's so much on the internet. If people just care to look it up, check it out. We are not putting one foot in front of the other. We are taking strides on trying to get this out. And the fact that other governments, other countries are involved in this is just amazing. It is one of those things where I can't even keep abreast of the whole situation. I took a week off and I lost years worth of evidence, and everybody's talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, I had it. Well, I mean, I went fishing for a week. I mean, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out of there. And this is the first time I've been able to say anything to it. But Dave, happy Father's Day to you officially. And
Thank you.
Yep, and everybody in the chat group, happy Father's Day. Anybody's listening, belated Father's Day to you. I was
you
gone.
too, Filth. Cat dads count.
Yes, cat dads count. You too. And in that 1 week's time, I've missed so much, and I'm still trying to catch up. It's amazing. I love it.
Bree, I want to bring you in here because I know you're more spiritual, you're more zen, you're more witchy, you're a little bit, you're a little bit more on the consciousness aspect and the intuitiveness, but nonetheless, you do follow UFOs. You do follow what's going on, and I appreciate your diversity when it comes to being able to bounce topics up. For you, when you look at the entire month of UFOs and where everything has kind of come into play here, as we say hello to Tim Seanor joining us, it's been a busy month, Bree, and it's just where it's almost getting hard to keep up.
Yeah, there's a lot that's been going on, but I mean, that's good signs as opposed to even 10 years ago. But I'm not gonna get tired of hearing about UFOs in the news. I mean, UFOs have. My grandpa saw a UFO when I was a little girl, so this stuff is in my blood. So I don't think I could get enough of it being in the news, because it's like, oh, I can actually talk to other people now because they've heard, bits or pieces on the news or YouTube. So I guess it has exposed more people to things as well.
Well, and I agree with you, and I like what you said there regarding the fact, Bree, that it's starting to expose the topic to other people out there as well. We're going to get very in-depth over the next few hours regarding this. I want to say hello to Tim Seanor here from Disclosure Tonight on Thomas Fessler's show, is now filling in on our UFO report here on Spaced Out Radio. Tim, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you coming on in.
Thanks for having me, and it's nice to meet your guests. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Tim, this has been a real heavy month of UFO news. And we're going to get, like I said, we're going to get heavy into this topic tonight. That's pretty much all we're going to be jamming down our listeners' throats is UFOs, UFOs, UFOs. But hey, when the news talks, we got to be on top of it. And for the fact that, this is another real heavy month going in to kick off the summertime run here when, U.S. Congress is about to recess for the summer. The Canadian government's about to recess for the summer. We saw just what happened in Brazil regarding the disclosure hearings there, which we will get into. I'm very curious, when you look back at the month of June, what is your opinion of whether or not this was a good month for UFOs?
I'm sorry, are you asking me?
Yes, you're Tim.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Okay. Well, I'd love to just back up very quickly what Bree was saying. I can totally relate, and I love the fact that every time I see something in the news, as somebody that has witnessed something myself, it gets me very excited because I feel a little bit of wind in my wings, towards perhaps disclosure, or perhaps finding out what happened to my family. Any bit towards that, I think, is incredible. So great times. And yes, things are ramping up so quickly. For somebody that's been kind of coasting and watching how things have been piling up for, oh, I don't know, 40 or plus years in ufology, people that are long haulers must be kind of scratching their heads as why did things appear to be ramping up right now? Or, maybe for a newcomer like myself, it's just been a steady drip. And I'm just kind of getting in here at the tail end here, and as things are starting to ramp up towards disclosure potentially. So I think, yeah, we've seen the world taking this topic seriously. And I'm sorry I came in a little late, but I'm assuming what you're talking about here is the fact that all the countries that we consider kind of big players now are falling into line. Your own country there, Dave, Canada, uniting with the United States on sharing data about incursions, potentially starting with drones and other, I think, over power power stations, I believe, is where it's starting there, Dave, and some of your personal work getting that out. Incredible. And obviously Russia has spoken briefly on what they were looking into with UAP, China getting on board, and now this big hearing in Brazil following up the public hearings that we just had in the US. It's been massive for this month, absolutely massive.
It really has, guys, and let's start to get into this a little bit right now. As earlier in Brazil, there was talks about UAP, UFOs, whatever you want to call them. Brazil has had some incredible stories and encounters throughout its history regarding UFOs and public, from landings to aliens running around terrorizing cities and towns. Now, whether we can believe that or not, or whether it's just conjecture, that's to be debated. But the fact that Brazil started or felt it was important to hold their own UAP congressional hearings in their government. Tim, let's start back with you here. What is your opinion on the fact that this is another government of a very large and highly populated country now getting into the UAP game, where their politicians and their citizens want to know what's going on?
Right. I think it's great because they definitely called on the right people, Robert Salas and Lou Elizondo, to inform them and bring them up to speed as to what the United States is doing. But by no means do I think Brazil necessarily is late to this game. I believe that they've been open door policy on accepting cases from witnesses, not only public but military, for a lot longer than the United States have. And I believe they've even been a little bit more transparent towards their public on some of this information. So although it's great to see Brazil kind of making it public that they're doing hearings, I don't think it's anything really new for that country. I think that this topic has clearly been open and discussed for quite a while. But definitely, this is a big step towards showing how the world should react to this on a level of taking it very seriously, and perhaps bringing the science and the data now to the table and prove it.
Well, before I bring Grant and Bree in here, I'm going to read something from this from the chairman, Eduardo Jureo, and I probably mispronounced that, and I apologize about that. He declares this session open. He goes, I would like to offer a special greeting to all of those who are here, guests, and also the interested people who came to the Federal Senate to participate in this session, which I would consider historic, because the present special blended session was convened under the terms of the Executive Committee Act of November 8th of 2021, which regulates the operation of remote and blended sessions in the Federal Senate and use of the remote deliberation system, and in compliance with request number 193 of 2022, authorized by me and other senators. And we move on to say that he goes, so I want at this moment to form our table here. Unfortunately, we only have the possibility of placing 4 guests here at the table who will start to finish, but we'll also invite some speakers in who will use the tribune to make their explanations. So to compose a table, they called together Mr. Ademir Jose Gaviard, and once again, I apologize about the pronunciation, who is a lecturer, director of UFO Magazine, and director emeritus in Brazil of the Mutual UFO Network, otherwise MUFON. And they went on to have a conversation. The one thing that I liked about this over the United States congressional hearings, granted, they were different, was they brought real investigators, real academics, real studious people here, Grant, in order to talk about UFOs. It wasn't a couple of guys who didn't know what the hell they were talking about because they were just put in the position a week before. They went right at it. Let's get to the topic. No BS. What is happening in Brazil's airspace? I think it was brilliant.
Oh, it was definitely brilliant. I mean, and I'm going to butcher the name too, Mr. How do you say it? Joao. How do you say his name?
You're going to make me find it again.
I know it's GIRAO. I mean, when he added a while back, he said it's too pretentious for humans to think that we are alone in God's universe. And at that point, I was like, this dude's on board. He's on board. And the way they went about it, and I'm still catching up with it. It's amazing. I mean, it's what everybody needs to do. We all need to do this, including the United States.
Okay, so for you, when you were learning about these hearings and everything, were you thinking that this was just going to be another government type of, let's interview our own people, try and get them in front, and, we'll ask about swamp gas, we'll ask about little green men, but they didn't go down that fact today. They did not. They went down the road of what is happening in our airspace, what is happening around our galaxies, what is being seen, what is happening in the U.S. We have an interest in putting all of these puzzle pieces together. To me, it was a very forward movement. How do you look at it, Grant?
It was, and I agree with you completely. The biggest thing with my takeaway from this is the fact that they went about it the correct way. Not only did they say, hey, look, this is what's going on, we were interested in this, let's look at what not only Canada, US, and other countries have to say about it, but let's bring in scientific evidence. Let's bring in the people that actually have the ability and the resources to find out what these are. And they weren't scared to say anything about it. In fact, it was quite interesting to me that Brazil even did it. I was not expecting them to come out and just swing it. And I kind of watched it, what's today? The 25th, 24th. So 3 weeks ago, they came out and they're like, oh, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they just came out swinging. And it's pretty exhilarating. I love it.
All right, Bree, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, if they came out swinging, I wonder how long they've been sitting on this stuff, prepped and everything. Is one thing that comes to mind when you brought up that point, Grant. But full disclosure, I didn't see the hearing with Brazil that happened today, but I did see the one that we had, and I guess it's nice to hear that there are some big hitting names that they are utilizing. And it is, it takes, like you're being taken seriously, like this is something that's going on. Like, we're not dressed up. We're not in cosplay. We're not at a sci-fi convention. But like that one guy was being a little, it sounded like a jock making fun of a nerd at our hearing. But I've always seen a lot of UFO videos of just what people have captured in South America. And so it's nice to see that there's something actually, I guess, being done about it, that it's like, we're not going crazy. It's like, seems like there's a lot of in that area. So it's good that they're having a voice.
Brazil has already released more than 20,000 pages of UFO documents. And Senator Eduardo Gireo was very, very proud, Tim, to talk about Brazil being the first country in the world to officially recognize the existence of unidentified flying objects of extraterrestrial origin back in 1954. It took 22 years after that for France to come out and talk about the existence of UFOs as well. I mean, I know you were kind of discussing this on Disclosure Tonight earlier on tonight. I mean, Gary Heseltine from the UK was there. Luis Elizondo had prepared a recorded statement. Robert Salas, who was an eyewitness to the nuclear facilities here in the United States when he was part of the United States Air Force, was there to testify as well. I mean, the fact that they went after real experiencers with real knowledge of what is going on. What's your overall opinion of how Brazil really came out of the gates today?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, even to follow that up with some of the other big names, they had Geraldo Lemos Nito, who is a writer on this topic there, Mr. Jackson Luis Camargo, who specializes in the analysis of official documentation. So he was an important person to have there. Thiago Tichetti, and he is a lecturer and a government advisor, and actually the president of the Brazilian Commission on Ufologists. So they had the right people in front of them, absolutely. And followed up by that was Ronnie Vernay, who is an electronics engineer specializing in industrial automation of telecommunications, and in Najar Antonio Kurowski, who is an undergraduate and a graduate university professor, a police officer, criminal expert in the Panama Institute of Criminalistics, and that topped it off with obviously the president there, Eduardo Giraro, I believe is how you may say his name. So the list of experts were, along with the Americans, pretty extensive. And so they definitely came with the right kind of information. A lot of that obviously was behind closed doors, and we may never hear of that from being the public. But let's also consider they just had these today. Yes, today. It was today, right? And the interesting thing is, in the news today, Brazil actually released an amazing encounter on the same day as they have these hearings. And that was an encounter that involved pilots that were watching craft moving at measured speeds of 11,500 miles per hour in what Brazil is considering and calling the night of the UFOs now. Mm-hmm. And this case was just made public recently, right? And along the lines, you're on top of it and reading it. And so just briefly, 21 objects appeared and disappeared while hundreds of troops on the ground also witnessed them. And we can talk about this even more because it's a really big case. But the fact that this is in the news at the same time as Brazil has these hearings, it's not just coincidence. It's just kind of like amazing is what it is.
I think Brazil showed real leadership today with that case, with the fact that this wasn't about little UAPs, drones, or China, Russia. This topic, and I highly suggest if you go Google the documents, you can actually Google, because the whole conversation was in Spanish today. And for those of us who don't speak Spanish, you can actually use Google Translate. There is recordings of this out there on the interwebs. But they went into everything, guys. They went into close encounters. They went into alien abduction. They went into statistics about religion and UFOs. They hammered it today. They absolutely hammered it today. And you know what? Moving this ball forward, in my opinion, Brazil did that in this topic, and they need to be recognized for that. We're going to get more into this with Tim Seanor, Grantavius Max, otherwise known as Grant Baker, and Thin Lizzie Borden. Dirty Filth is doing the cartoon thing. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio when we return with the second half hour. Strong start here. We're going to continue this strong play on UFOs on the SOR Roundtable tonight. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
Hey, Tim, it's nice to meet you finally. Just had to say that. And I was asking you questions the other night, and you kept saying Grantavius, which everybody does. And but it's really nice to meet you. I really enjoy listening. So far, I've really enjoyed listening to you on the show.
Thanks for that, Grant. That's a
Absolutely.
great welcome. I appreciate that, bud. Sorry about the mispronunciation. So it's Grantavius?
It's Grantavius, and
Okay.
I spelt it wrong, and everybody says Grantavius, and I get a kick out of it. I think it's fun.
What was it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be Grantavius. I got
Supposed to be poodles. Poodles.
Poodles.
I'm the only one that got it right.
The Night of the UFOs with Brazil, that started way before recently, wasn't it? That was years ago.
Let's keep the
Is it
conversation.
an old?
We're coming out. It's an older case, but
Cool.
we're gonna come out with that when we come back.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah,
So-
I just read it. That's all. And it's nice to meet you, Bree, too.
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard
nice
so
to meet
much
you,
about
too.
you. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Bria?
I've seen your name in a few
The chat.
a few chats over the few, well, not a few months. It's been like
I dip in and out.
almost a year in this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like wow, time flies fast.
It does. It does.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm in the chat as Anonymous Rex typically. So
That's
I'm
what I
not
thought.
anonymous really, but it's just stuck with me. And
Mhm.
so everyone knows that it's Tim Seanor's Anonymous Rex. It's not a secret.
Oh my. And Dirty Filth, always love you, man. You're doing a great
Yeah.
job.
Amazing cartooning.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, he did one of me giving the Mothman a tarot reading.
Oh, that's awesome.
You still got to give me your address so I can mail it, sucker.
Oh yeah, I will.
That is so cool.
I'm only going to give you my address as long as you come see me, and I will show
I have his
you
address,
around.
so I can, if you bribe me, I can give it to you.
Oh,
Filth.
that's-
Ooh.
Kidding.
oh, that's right. You do have my address. That's right. I got yours too.
Yeah, but
Ha, ha, ha. You just wait. You just wait.
Yeah, I'll come do fishing one day with you, buddy.
Oh, we're gonna go
fishing
fishing.
too.
You go ahead and pick what car you want to drive, or have me drive you in, and we'll go do it. Whatever you want to do, my man. Whatever you want to do.
First thing I
take
got to
you-
do is look at your bookshelf so I can judge you properly.
Oh, if you want to judge me properly, my bookshelves are filled with a lot of David Eddings, which you cannot find on Kindle, I found out. So I have a lot of David Eddings, a lot of fantasy sci-fi books. So you name it, I probably got it. I have hundreds of books.
John Waters has a great quote about someone's bookshelf. It's more on the adult side, so you'll have to do your own research.
Yeah. The only thing I don't have on there is, well, that's a lie. I actually I don't have any Terry Pratchett on there, but he's a fun author for children's reads. I read him when I was young, Discworld stuff, but it's fun reads, and Anthony Pierce, stuff like that. So if anybody knows any of those authors, and I got the whole Rama series. I mean, Frank Herbert with
Futurama?
No.
Are you talking Piers Anthony? Did you say Piers Anthony? Because I used to love reading Piers Anthony stuff.
Yes, I have every single Piers Anthony book that he made. I have,
and it was Anne McCaffrey that did like Dragon Drums.
yes,
I'll be right back.
I used to get into
Dragon World, yeah.
Oh,
We have 1 minute, Bree.
What a
1
bunch of nerds.
that. I also
Anne
played Dungeons and Dragons, so it was right up that alley.
Rolling dice next weekend, man.
Oh, really? You play still? Oh, that's so cool. I wish I had a group to play with.
I'll have to send you some pictures of the gaming room.
You have a gaming room. Oh my
It's
god.
epic. It's absolutely epic. I got
You're
pictures
so
of it.
lucky.
He did a good job.
All right, guys. I want to say a big thank you to Heidi ×2. And Heidi, we'll see you in Vegas next month. We're going to be there. And Tim's coming with me right after the MUFON conference. We're heading over to Las Vegas for about a day and 3/4. but we will do that. So hopefully we can meet on up. And flash forward Jeep YJ Overlander and Mennonite Abe for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's done some shopping at our store at spacedoutradio.com, and we really do appreciate it. And we will continue the show right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The roundtable continues tonight. Tim Seanor, Grant Tavius Max with the mustache of a man named Grant Baker, and Thin Lizzie Borden from our After Hours show, her and Grant, and they are joining us for the SOR Roundtable, where we go through the month that was in the weird and strange that is going on. And right now we're talking about down in Brazil, and one of the hot topics at the UFO hearings that took place was an incident that happened back on May 22nd, 1986. This is where Brazilian jet fighters were sent up in the sky to chase more than a dozen UFOs. One jet was actually surrounded by objects, according to their Air Force minister. Minister Octavio Moreira Lima at the time said the plane saw intense green, red, and white lights that moved between 160 and 990 miles per hour and picked up solid objects on their radars. Now, this was also seen by dozens of witnesses, including military on the ground. Tim, the importance of this case, along with cases like the Varginha affair, where dozens of witnesses saw a craft land, UFO land, and then beings get out of this craft. I mean, Brazil has it going on, and they are on top of their UFO reports.
Yeah, it really definitely legitimizes the topic in a big way, especially when the reports are coming from military witnesses. And so a lot of these people were civilian, but a lot of them were military. And like you said, they scrambled jets in this first case that you're mentioning, a massive case to be out in the public eye, and they did nothing to censor it. It was actually posted, just like you're saying, in complete detail with all of the facts. In fact, I think the original actually came out naming some names of some witnesses. So that country in particular doesn't try to disguise these cases or whitewash them with, general facts. They come out with specifics. It's very interesting. And we, in this country need to take heed of that and perhaps even follow suit.
Grant, when you hear that the military was scrambled on this case and just, it was like these UFOs were playing with them, much like we hear in the 2004 USS Nimitz case. I mean, it just goes to show that what we have here on this planet is no match, technologically speaking, for what is going on with these close encounters.
Oh, exactly. I agree completely. I mean, even as much as when you had the 86 encounters with Brazil, there was such weird things that were going on. There was like 2,000 cadets that actually seen it as well. There was hundreds of people that watched it. The weird thing that happened back then was even the control tower, they couldn't see it on radar, but everybody else could see it in the sky. And what was interesting is as the craft, when they did move, because a lot of them said they didn't, when they did move, it would dim as it was coming towards the control tower. Yes. And then brighten as it left away. The story is wild. If anybody wants to actually look that one up, that is an interesting story. And today you have someone like, let's just go back a few years to Commander David Fravor. when he saw the Tic Tac and did his loop around it, and his wingman was up in the air, and he decided, hey, what's the quickest point from A to B straight across? So he went towards it, and he just gone. Literally went to their cap point, which is a secure military destination. Nobody should know exactly where that's at, except for the people that are in the air. And for these things to do that so quickly, it's astounding of the technology that they have. It's astounding that, I mean, we are utterly left behind when it comes to this kind of technology. It is phenomenal. And that's, there's no English words to describe exactly what this is. We don't know what it is, but it's phenomenal. It's amazing to watch, and we see it all the time, and as far back as 1986.
Bree, I want to bring out a quote here. This is of the technologies that are speaking by Brazilian Senator Eduardo Jureo. Again, he goes, I want to say to you that regrettably, we are late as humanity to master technologies that may be a million years ahead of us. That's what prevents, and it's very important. He goes, in my opinion, I'm expressing my opinion here. I think this is an impediment. We have to improve and improve a lot so that we can advance this UFO agenda. By your excellency, congratulations, because we are doing our job. We are discussing this today in the Senate of the Republic. This is very important, and it's a topic of interest to 33% of the Brazilian population. And the reason why I bring that up was I thought the statement of that technologies that may be a million years ahead. Look, we haven't even crossed that. How far advanced are the extraterrestrials here in North America? We still are playing swamp gas in the U.S. Congress, Bree. And yet here they're talking about technology that could be a million years ahead.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that part with the million year, ahead part is, I guess, interesting. But yeah, we don't know how far ahead alien technology is ahead of us, I guess, of what our capacity is. But it's almost like the space race is how it almost feels like when we hear different countries that are doing their research, into ufology. Kind of in a way, I see that.
Well, and I think I think you're right. That number may be well off. I know he was just throwing the numbers a million years out there, but the fact is, like Bree says, Tim, we don't know the line of technology. It could be 500 years ahead. It could be 100 years ahead. It could be 28,000 years ahead. We don't know. But the fact that Senator Jureo is throwing out a million years ahead, there is plausibility to that. And it's not something that should be overlooked by saying, look, we don't have the technology on this planet to compete with whatever is visiting here. And we need to grow up, and we need to start acting a little smarter towards this topic. I think, pardon my language here for our radio audience, but I think it was a little bit of a slap in the face to many people in other governments to say that, Tim.
Yeah. Bree, did you want to follow up with anything, or?
Yeah, real quick, about the, being taken seriously, and just like, and I'll bring it up again, but with our hearing, kind of, someone was asked if they dress up, when they go to any things. And so I feel like that could have been there. I guess I didn't see a need for that. It almost makes a mockery, out of this whole thing. And maybe, who knows, maybe that's what, they want someone to, yes, exactly. Yeah. Intentionally do that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say real quick.
No, that's great. And just to address the million years ahead of us topic. I've actually been doing a lot of mental gymnastics on this and kind of come to terms with that. And what I found myself thinking was, let's just assume that we all started at the same time in this vast galaxy, right, and beyond. And this planet has censored itself all along the way. We haven't shared information freely. We've hidden it behind dollars and governmental secrets. And we have hindered ourselves as a planet against these potential technologies. And so perhaps there's other, I don't know, planets out there that have handled information differently. And it's not so much that they're a million years ahead of us, it's just that they've worked together in a capacity that was far advanced in a collaborative sense. And so they've made better use of their time. And they're, I don't like to say smarter necessarily, but they've collaborated to a
Yeah.
point where they've gotten to a very advanced state.
Yeah, you can work together greater as a team to get something done faster. So I agree with what you're saying.
We're going to wrap up this topic because we do have to move on the roundtable tonight. But I want to end it on this point here and get your opinion, guys. Grant, we'll start with you on this. Why is it, and maybe it's just my opinion, but after going through the documents here, because I couldn't watch it live due to the fact that I don't understand Spanish. Okay, but why is it after reading through the documents that there seems to be an extreme maturity on this topic by the government officials in how they are representing the severity and and trying to learn the understanding of UFOs, UAP, whatever you want to call them, comparatively to what we saw a month ago in the United States?
Oh, that is that is a tough question. When it comes to the United States, oh boy, how do I answer this without getting in trouble? My thoughts on it are this: you have other countries, not just Brazil. You have, Europe's released their documents years ago, and I don't know what it is. We have not figured it out. There's this stigma when it comes to the United States about them being the secret holders, the smoking gun, so to speak. So the more countries that come out with everything and they're just like, hey, dude, why is this such a big deal? Let's just let it out. Where the United States is more hush hush. They keep their secrets a little bit closer to the chest. I've yet to figure out why. I've lived here for 42 years and I don't understand my own country when it comes to stuff like this. We're a mess when it comes to this. They're trying. You get the Space Force. You have, even back when Trump was like, oh, and this bill, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to say, I want as much information on UAP, or back then it was UFOs, as possible. And still they fumbled it. I don't get it. I might live here, but I'm still ignorant to the fact of why our government does what it does.
I get you. How about for you, Bree? Your final word on this topic. The maturity of the way Brazil handled their congressional hearings compared to what we've seen out of the United States.
I think, well, because I didn't see the one from today, I'll have to watch it tomorrow. But it sounds like their approach was a more mature and to be taken seriously by the sounds of it.
And Tim, you get the final word.
Well, I would definitely just like to highlight their maturity in one more fact, that today also marks the 21 years existence of the first ufology museum in Latin America. So let's just consider that. There's a museum dedicated to this. So think about walking your children through that and being able to open their minds at a very young age to the potential of life outside of our planet. It just opens people up. You're more open to it as a country. You're more open to a lot of things. So I think this is exactly what the rest of the world should be doing. We're just a little late to the game.
Are we late to the game, Tim? or are we trying to hide the real game?
Absolutely. That's the question, bud. It really is.
All right, let's move on to topic number 2 tonight. And panel, I know you did not read this. I know for a fact you did not read this. Well, maybe Tim. Maybe Tim. There was a story that went out on Reddit that is pretty damn eerie, guys. Pretty damn eerie. Now, this report has now been taken down, but I was actually in one of my private rooms talking with somebody who knows all about space and UFOs from behind the scenes. And his words to me were dumbfounding. So let me read you the article first.
Wow.
This was put up by somebody named Moist Purpose 9436. Okay. Headline: Incredible story coming out by the New York Times on an incident in space. I don't expect anybody to believe this or take me seriously. The information I'm presenting below is coming to me third party. However, this person has never missed a point before. I have it on good authority that the New York Times is working on a story which was leaked directly to them by a contractor of the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Organization. According to the info being given to me, an NRO satellite lost communication for several hours. When it came back online, it sent a data dump which contained telemetry that showed that the satellite had been pulled out of Earth's orbit, shut down, and then returned to its original location. Current guesses are that the Chinese or Russians actually captured the satellite, copied its programming and everything else they could get, and then let it go. The New York Times is supposedly going to break this story in about 4 weeks. Not sure what they are waiting on, but this is truly a thing. So this popped up on the internet yesterday. And there were a number of UFO people who caught screen grabs because these little things tend to go missing very, very quick. Now, I'm not saying it's true, okay? But the person I talked to about this, who is very much involved in the UFO world, seemed to believe it. Him and I were on a conversation about Canada and some of the news that is coming out of Canada. His response to me was, are any of the stories bigger? How did he put it here? Let me just see here. Bigger than a New York Times story on aliens capturing an NRO satellite, taking it out of the solar system, completely overwriting its computer systems, then dropping it off back where they found it, all in a span of 2 hours. 2 hours, people. If this is real, this is amazing because it says a couple of things. Whether it's the Russians, Chinese, or aliens, that was a targeted satellite. And if it was aliens, they knew it was a targeted satellite. Why not get a communication satellite that has all of our interwebs on it, like one of Elon Musk's satellites, or a Galaxy G2 satellite or G5 or whatever they're on now for communications? Why a military satellite? Now, Tim, I see you kind of nodding your head here. I know you've done a little bit of investigation into this, but this is incredible, Tim.
It is. It is. And so some of the suspects in this game are the X-37B Chinese satellite, which is kind of an interactive satellite that can literally grab things out of the space and, you know, with these working claws. There's also recently, the UK is recently releasing a satellite that literally looks like an octopus. And it can also grasp things. Typically, this one in particular from the UK is going to be removing debris from space and out of commissioned satellites. But we're starting to see a pattern. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty surprised that you decided to cover this case because it's going to be controversial. And you're actually breaking it ahead of the New York Times, which is also well done, sir. good on you. It's a very controversial topic. And even to bring in some of the other concepts here of it leaving our, I'm sorry, let's just restate what you said there, that aliens capturing an NRO satellite, taking it out of the solar system, completely overriding its computer systems, and then dropping it off back where they found it, all in a span of 2 hours. That bears repeating, right? I mean, that's big stuff. Even if it's just conceptual at this point, and it could explain a gap. Now, is it just a gap in data? Do we know that it physically left? These are all answers that are going to be coming out. But, we're just scratching the surface here at the potential of what we're looking at. And are we going to see this story whitewashed again with something mundane? Back to you.
Well, you know what? I think if we read it correctly, well, technically we're not breaking the story. We don't have any information on it. We're
Right.
going on
the topic.
And I thought about that. I did think about whether or not we should actually bring this up, and I thought, no, this is too juicy. I love juice. I'm thirsty, and I need some juice, and that's the reality of it. But the fact that somebody in private told me point blank, somebody who would be in the know told me what they did, that just made me want to keep my eyes open to it. And our job is to get it out to the audience. I don't care about the New York Times. What are they going to do for Spaced Out Radio? They're going to do nothing for us. Do I care about them breaking a story? No. We're not pursuing the story. We're not going after it. But if I hear things, we're going to report on it. Right? They want to get mad at me? They want to get mad at me? Go for it. Go for it. How did it leak on Reddit? And if it leaked on Reddit, we're going to talk about it. Right? Why not?
Awesome.
But this is one of those stories. And I'm not trying to act tough with the New York Times. Okay? But screw them. They're not going to do anything for us. Right?
I can't wait to get Grant and Bree's take on this, because it's kind of like massive, right?
If it's true, which we will never know. Okay, we'll never fully know. But if it's true, Bree, this is eerie. I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, when you're telling it, what goes through my mind is anxiety, because of what that would mean. Because, well, why? Who would want to do that? But like you're saying, did it actually happen? Or like Tim was saying, was it just a gap in, the data? Because I know there's been some solar flare recently, and I know that I believe that affects technology. So who knows? Maybe it's just an error. But on the off chance that this information is valid, then I would. It's like, it's the beginning of all those alien movies that you see. It seems like the end of the war alien movies, so, or maybe I've been watching a little bit too much Rod Sterling. Rod Sterling.
Way to punch us right in the teeth there. Way to punch us right in the teeth.
Right.
With a little bit of fear. But you're right. It is a start of the movie, Bree. That's how this horror movie starts, is by aliens capturing satellites.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say, we're going to continue this conversation when we return from break at the top of the hour, because there's a lot to go over with this. And granted, this story of potential aliens grabbing a hold of a satellite, taking it out of the solar system for 2 hours, and then bringing it back, it may sound sci-fi, but it could be true. And this is why we're going to blow your mind when we come back. At least we're going to attempt to. Spaced Out Radio with Grant Baker, Thin Lizzie Borden, Tim Seanor, and our brilliant cartoonist Dirty Phil, continuing with hour 2 of the round table tonight, right after this on the mighty SOR. So stay tuned. We're going to rock it right through the night for you. UFO night tonight on the round table. Oh, this story gives me the friggin' chills, man.
Mhm.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, Bree, that was epic.
What?
Oh,
You nailed it.
You nailed it. Oh man, I got some other stuff to say, but that was as soon as you said it, the start of an alien movie. I was like,
Oh, that just scared the shit out of me.
I've been watching a little bit too many of the movie recaps over the past week. So, and there's been a lot of sci-fi movies that I've seen. So, but I am my grandpa's granddaughter, so I am a sci-fi nerd. So, it is what it is. Grant, you want
I
to see
can't-
my grandfather,
I
The
was
one
so
that,
scared. I grabbed my teddy bear.
the UFO?
Oh, dirty filth. Oh,
You can
that's
kind of
cool.
see. He,
Yeah.
yeah, he did
He looked-
boxing when he
I
was
was gonna
younger.
say he looks like
for
he's gonna
fun.
whoop somebody's butt.
Well, he will still whoop anyone's butt. That does me wrong from the grave.
I'll
I'll
tell
be
you
right
what.
back, you guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I've never been scared of a good butt whooping. Everybody deserves one at least once in their life. I've had a few more than once, but oh, that alien one that got me, man. I was so excited that you said that. Oh my goodness.
I mean, yeah, it's like some creature that's bigger than the universe,
Mhm.
or that can fit in the universe, is just plucking, just boop, just pluck little.
Oh, I got something to say about it.
The cat feeding time, so they're oh my god, you're crazy.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Joe Monk, graboids. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
And they ate Walter Chan. Unbelievable.
Oh, this is awesome. Oh gosh, I love being on these panels, man. They're epic. Dogface Boy, thanks for the super chat. About Bloody Time, Devo. Hey man, you rock, my man. Let's see, who else can I call out tonight? Let's have some fun. Everybody say hi in the chats real quick, and I'll just call you out while Dave's gone. Shh, don't tell anybody. Oh my goodness. Oh, that drawing you're doing, my man, is epic. I love it already, even though I don't know what it is. I still have the one you gave me when we were in Vegas.
That's okay. I got to send you another one too.
Oh, I love you.
That's the thing. You got to stay to the end, so that's why nobody gets to leave. They got to wait until the very end, till the drawing's done. Then they can go home. Other than that, doors are locked, and we're not giving you your keys back. And no, we're not going to validate your parking until it's done.
I will give you my keys. Aberrata, hi there. It's good seeing you. Oh my goodness, dude, my chat just blew up. Oh, Lau Myers, hey my man, how you doing? Vin man, howdy. Good seeing you here. Let's see, Kim, is it Jellin? Yeah, Kim Jellin, hi. And there we go. Oh, this is awesome. Arlene says hi at Filthy. I don't know if you can read the chats there, my man.
I got my laptop sitting here, but I'm staring at my paper the whole time. So I always feel bad. I can't say anything to anybody. I try to look, but then I'm not supposed to be here to talk to the audience. I just gotta drop things.
I'll help you out, my man. So Go Teresa says hi.
You're just supposed to sit there and produce work. You just sit there and produce.
And Dave gives me one slice of pizza every night at the end of the night. And then he refreshes my newspaper.
Oh my goodness.
If you're good.
Hi in the chat real quick. Thanks, Lara. Paranormal Pixie, I love you. You're awesome.
Well, Terry did that.
And Ann Palmer says H. I'm sure there was an I in there somewhere. So H.
Logan, dancing is forbidden. Didn't you know that, Logan? Dancing's forbidden.
It is. It's
an Aqua Teen hunger joke. That's an Aqua Teen hunger joke. If anyone has seen those, that's
oh my goodness. Okay, hold up. I gotta go through these real quick. So, Angels of Life, hi. Black Dragon, hello. Itsy Zaza, hi.
Black
Jessica
Dragon's a
Holman,
beauty.
hi.
Hold on.
We got
who came in here? Oh, Vinman's here.
Yeah.
Vinman.
It was supposed to be a surprise, Dave.
We're
Oh,
having
I'm
a
excited.
little fun.
Oh,
Joshua
it's
Godson.
Zaza's here. Welcome back. Long time, no time. There's a lot of people who haven't been here in a while here tonight.
We phoned them all and told them to come here.
Yes.
I loved it. I needed this tonight.
Picking up on the vibe.
Oh, that's a
I
good
totally
vibe.
needed this tonight. The gorgeous and talented Vinman has returned to SOR. And he's like, shut up, Dave. I can feel him all the way in Winnipeg right now. Shut up, Dave. Yeah. John Music, I have been inundated with stuff lately, and I apologize, but everything is very well right now, dude. I will get back to you. The Unknown, how you doing? Delta Tester Cat, welcome back. And who else is here? Mm-hmm. By the way, Scowling Greg O'Brien says that we have satellite technology to grab other satellites too. So we're going to continue on here. Thank you to Simon, Brock, Heidi ×2, Flash Forward, YJ, and Mennonite Abe for the super chats. Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are across the planet we call Earth. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Old Navy the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ironism. Ironism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. I got to show our YouTube audience something here first. This is Derek Cook, one of our listeners on Twitter. He plays this iRacing.com game. And this is just the coolest thing because he has designed and he races SOR vehicles. He is totally, you got to see this. If you're on the radio side, go over to our YouTube channel, check it on out. It is absolutely incredible what he has done as he takes our logos and he races Team SOR on the internet circuit here. And, you know, this is a Ford Mustang that he's driving with Spaced Out Radio. We own the night along the side, our big logo of the owl head on the hood. I mean, this is just amazing art. And I want to point out a big thank you to Derek Cook for doing this and making like a NASCAR type car of a Mustang with our logos on it. That is just amazingly cool. And, you know, I got to admit, Derek, on my work computer, with the old design that you did with our, I actually have that on my computer as my screensaver at work, and I will definitely be putting this on as a screensaver, as you can see me saving it right now.
I remember the first one, or the one from months back.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So we want to say thank you to Derek for showing us that type of love on Twitter and in his video game about racing at iRacing.com. You can go check him on out, racing the Spaced Out Radio car. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Right before the break, guys, we were talking about this weird story that has now been removed from Reddit, which said that an American satellite by the National Reconnaissance Organization, the NRO, lost communication for a couple of hours and apparently was taken out of our solar system and then dropped back in the exact same place. And it went dead silent for a couple of hours. But when it turned back on, it literally had a data dump of telemetry on it. Now, we all know that the superpowers of the world, Tim, have the technology to go to war in space, okay, to kill satellites. There's a number of satellites up there that are actual satellite killers, pun intended. You know, I mean, how do we know that this isn't Russia or China doing this? I mean, are there any clues whatsoever in this initial report? And apparently, the New York Times is going to break this story in the next few weeks with potentially more information if it actually gets to print.
Sure. It's a glitch, Dave. It's a glitch in their system, and it never left its original telemetry. And it was just a mathematical error, is what I expect we're going to hear, right? It never left. That's going to be their final word on this. And it's disappointing, potentially that they're going to call it Chinese or Russian or something else like that, because really they will be missing the point behind this. And this is another one potential that we're going to miss. There's some huge flags in this story that you can't get past. And some of it is that data dump. Where did that come from? And if it was a mistelemetry, a guidance, perhaps tracking error, then why are they getting it from so many different points of data? It's not just tracked by one, it's tracked by multiple sources. So as we've seen recently, they don't give us all of these data points all at once. Right. And so they may be able to whitewash or mask it initially, but eventually, as those data points get released, we're going to be able to narrow down on the fact that it probably really did leave our solar system and come back within 2 hours. The facts are going to out themselves, I think, as the truth always does. But it's going to be frustrating because we will have to probably wait a while before this truth outs itself.
I agree with you on that. I think this is going to be a very, very heavy project. And Grant, I'm curious to get your opinion on this as well. I mean, what do you think's going on here?
So here's a good question, and well, not even a question. Let's just put this in realistic terms. You have a satellite that is obviously tracked by multiple sensors, not just one. There's not just like one computer that's tracking thousands of satellites. These things are on multiple sensors. The information that you've received, and you've said it a few times, that this thing left the solar system. Something that we have technology-wise, we don't even have the technology to send something outside our solar system in 2 hours, let alone 2 months or even 2 years. So when you have a data dump on top of that, how does something grab this thing and rewrite the data in space and then give it back to us, whether it stays in its orbit or not? You have to have something there that can physically get into this operating system on the satellites, whether it's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, however they operate this thing, radio frequencies, and then erase everything or not erase everything and just add more to it. But the fact that it got taken outside of the solar system, did it get taken away far enough to where we can't? I mean, did it go fast enough to where our sensors were like, oh, where'd it go? So this thing's moving outside the solar system or away from us fast enough where it's like, okay, we're going to do this real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot it back in. There's so many questions here. There's so many, not even just data points. There's so many questions here that are fantastic. It's just wild to me. This is one of those. Go ahead.
We need information. What it comes down to is we need information on this. Right now, we're just going on a rumor. That's exactly what we're doing. We could be reporting on a rumor. We could be reporting on fact. We could be reporting on something that is complete and utter BS. But the fact that there could be something to it is my source that came to me last night, one that is very well trusted within the UFO game, does not speak a lot publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And no, not Lou Elizondo or Sean Cahill or people of that ilk. Someone else came up to me and sent me that private message regarding this, that it was actually out of our solar system. Now, the original report on Reddit, once again, which has been removed, was that this satellite had been pulled out of Earth's orbit. But to be pulled out of the solar system, that's an entirely different ballgame. I can see a satellite being taken out of Earth's orbit and then put back after it's been hacked by a pirate country. I get that. Remember Ted Cruz, Space Pirates? That was funny when he said that, by the way. But nonetheless, I don't see it going out of the solar system and back in 2 hours. If that's in fact definitely true, that 2-hour time limit is a very short amount of time to go from the outside the solar system to right back into dropping it right in its exact place. Grant.
Real quick, I mean, just like Glenn Dennison says, left solar system or left Earth orbit. Think of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just think of the logistics of trying to take a satellite even out of Earth's orbit. That is monumental by itself. So either it left the solar system or left Earth orbit. Either way, that's a monumental thing that's going to happen. So this thing either just left Earth's orbit, and whether it's the Russians and their little octopus thing and they pulled it out, that's a huge task for another country to put that kind of money into doing something like this. It just doesn't seem realistic.
But it was a targeted satellite, though.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be. I mean, out of the thousands of satellites out there that anything or anyone could grab, to grab one of a spy satellite from the National Reconnaissance Organization, the NRO, which is above the CIA, which
Mm-hmm.
is above the NSA, which is the top spy agency in the United States that we know of. This is where it gets a little eerie. And Batman makes a good comment in the chat room. It's not 2 hours out. That's round trip. So 45 minutes each way and a half hour to mess with the satellite. I mean, that's a possibility too. But if it is aliens, it could be within minutes and 2 hours of dissection or downloading and then brought back. I mean, I'm flabbergasted by this. You know, we don't know what kind of satellite it was. We could assume that anything NRO is a spy satellite. I don't think, Tim, that there is anything wrong with mentioning it as a spy satellite.
Right. And I'd love to get Bree's take on this too. But I mean, there's a few little things that jump off the page here. And I think as to possibly why, this happened, let's just say it was specifically targeted to be that satellite because of how secure it is, let's say. And so if something outside of our solar system wanted to make its presence known in a huge way, well, this would be a great way to do it in an undeniable way. And also show the fact that it can do that, right? And so you've got to ask a couple questions, like who could that possibly be? If it wasn't aliens, okay, who could it be? And then ask why. Why would that happen? Why would you set it back right where it was, untampered, except with more data, and it's just happily going on its way? Why, right? And so I think the who and the why here are huge factors. I think that'll probably reveal itself in one way or another. But I think if you were trying to demonstrate your abilities as, something that like, hey, you're not seeing us in the skies. You're not taking advantage of the fact that we're making ourselves obvious to your Navy. You're keeping it secret from your people. Well, let's try this. This is a very obvious way of demonstrating that they can just take something, pluck it, take it out of our solar system, drop some info, and plop it back where it was.
Well, I mean, you say that, when you say, oh, your Navy or your military is not taking this seriously, or the problem is they're the ones that are keeping this secret. They're part of the problem when it comes to letting it all out and trying to educate the people and try to show us what disclosure is, even though that's the problem. So if you have an intelligent species or another being that's out there, and let's just face it, to us, they're aliens. To them, we're the aliens. And so when they come in and they're like, oh, well, we know, and they're so advanced that they're going to pluck a military satellite out of the sky, tamper with it, and put it right back in its orbit and let it go. I mean, that's wild enough, but they are probably pretty smart about doing it. They already know what we're doing. So are they just messing with our military and saying, hey, you guys, we can do this. Check it out. Watch this. You're not telling your public people about it, or, society about it.
Right.
Are they playing with us, or are they really trying to show them, like, look,
Exactly.
if you don't tell this, the world about what's going on, we're just kind of giving you this guiding stones. Like, if you don't take this seriously,
We'll
we're
just
just gonna
elevate
step
it
in.
and keep
Exactly.
elevating the demonstrations. I'm super curious, Bree. You've been silent and you terrified us with your and comparing this to the beginning of a movie. Beautiful, I thought. Please.
Yeah, well, I'm introverted, so I when I'm quiet, it's either I'm thinking or scheming. So it's like you never know with me. But there's a couple things. Well, in Midwestern, I hate interrupting, talking over people. But was it Russian or China about the in space, something that is looking like an octopus? I thought that was
Actually
interesting
British.
because they say, okay, the UK, okay, so the Brits, the like octopus are, theory that they are alien creatures themselves. So I thought that was super interesting that there's that connection. And also in the shift now of the satellite, it said that it was gone for 2 hours and it was put back in the same spot. Now, I'm assuming there's going to be a drift, that it has a natural drift rate, right? And so did it go back to the spot that it started at, I'm assuming, or did it catch up to the rate that it was supposed to really be at? So those
Well,
are
that is a
my
solid,
thoughts so far.
right. And Grant, you're bringing up the satellite. Yeah, that's the on our YouTube channel. You could see the satellite of the British satellite that has like octopus arms. That is
Like
it has the
little
ability
gripper.
to grab onto satellites in space. So I mean, this is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. We're going to move on topics here, guys, because we got 5 minutes to go before we need to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. The SOR Roundtable with Grant Baker, Thin Lizzy Borden, and Tim Seanor continues with Dirty Filth. Painting is awesome cartoons down below, and we love Dirty Filth on our YouTube channel as well. And we're going to get into an interesting one here. I think this is a debatable question. Travis Taylor, do we know who he is? Do we know? Well, we've learned a lot about Travis Taylor over the last little bit. He has been on Ancient Aliens. He's been the lead scientist on Skinwalker Ranch. He's spoken at the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies Conference. He's just the man has master's degrees and doctorates coming out of his pores. Brilliant scientist. And for the longest time, we thought that he was working for Brandon Fugel and the Skinwalker Ranch. However, this week it came out that over the last 4 years, he has also been the head scientist for the government and the US UAP task force. Now, for me, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, good on the dude, okay, because he is brilliant, okay? He is absolutely brilliant when it comes to this subject. Brandon Fugel went on Twitter to defend him, saying, look, he apologized to me for not being able to let me know, but he goes, Brandon Fugel quoting him, saying that he was very impressed the fact that Taylor kept that from him because it shows his word is good. He's a man of good honor by not telling Fugel that he was the head scientist at the UAPTF while working at Skinwalker Ranch. Grant, I want to start with you on this one. Double dipping the system. I'm going to throw a little controversy in here a little bit. But does this not mean or prove now that the UFO world is infiltrated by government agents?
Oh, you're 100% correct. It's convoluted with them. How do you think they're able to keep their backsides clear? They're checking their sixes. That's just what they do. In fact, what's really interesting is Travis Taylor. I was looking him up, and he's a very well-versed gentleman. He has science, and oh man, there's just so much to read on him. What's interesting is I don't know much about him, and within the first paragraph, I'm like, holy moly, this guy is all over the place. But realistically, you need somebody like that. He's super smart, and if he's super genuine, and he's kind of double dipping the sauce there. United States government.
Let me cut you off here for a second. Let's listen to his educational background. Okay. He has degrees from Auburn University, University of Western Sydney, University of Alabama, Huntsville. He has a doctorate in optical science and engineering, a master's degree in physics, a master's degree in aerospace engineering, a master's degree in astronomy, and just to put a little icing on the cake, a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I mean, this guy is, you can fill his one wall with doctorates and degrees in frames. I mean, we're not talking about a stupid man here.
No. He's got various works in high-tech programs of the Department of Defense and NASA. Like, the dude is super educated. And what's the question is, like, this guy is like the Doogie Howser of PhDs. I mean, he's getting them so quickly, and he's not even an old dude. He's probably one of the smartest individuals. Man, I would love to pick that guy's brain. He probably knows more than. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bree.
I was gonna. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Darn it. Oh, put on the glasses. Like when you were saying about like there's military like everywhere. It's like, yeah, put on the glasses. It's a movie quote in case people don't know they live. But of course I guess I am kind of skeptical about people in general. So I wouldn't put it past the government to have their, their people spread out all around in different fields and interests and everything like that.
No.
Absolutely. Tim, let's bring you in here. As you know what, Tim, I'm going to get you to hold on because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to really get into Travis Taylor. I think he's a genuine guy. Okay, I'm going to go on the record here and say I believe he's a genuine guy who has a real interest in this. He just happens to be in the dream position at Skinwalker Ranch and with the UAPTF that we would all die for. There's always got to be somebody on top. There's always going to be a Michael Jordan. There's always going to be a Wayne Gretzky. There's always going to be a Muhammad Ali. And in our field, I think we can name that person, not as Lou Elizondo, but as Travis Taylor right now. And we're going to continue this conversation on the round table. Grant Baker, Thin Lizzie Borden, Tim Seanor, Dirty Filth drawing the cartoons. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, we're clear, guys.
Bro.
Super great show, by the way. Thank you guys so much for the invitation. Your chat is amazing. Dave, your show is amazing. So much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun tonight.
Awesome.
Having a lot of fun.
Yeah, Friday.
So I'm gonna be honest, this Taylor fellow, I got a really nice article right here that I'm just skimming through. This dude is on top of, he's like a prodigy. This guy is definitely a prodigy. It is
Probably not human.
He's a robot.
That's Dirty Phil just coming on in there, surprising the
Yeah.
hell out of us and then taking off again.
Oh, he does that a lot.
I know.
It's
I
those
know.
it's the random pictures he sends you in the middle of the night that are great.
Well,
What's
Paintings.
right?
I'm going to take
Oh,
a quick
another. Oh, this definitely
moment
another.
for-
Go ahead, Tim. We've got about 4 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna take off just for a second.
Sure.
I drank
we
way
got Dirty Phil. I went out. Oh my God! I got like mosquitoes in my house or something because I am being like eaten alive right now.
Why did you close your front door, Dave?
Why would I do that? You never know when a moose is going to come in, know, and say, "Hey, what's for dinner?"
Well, you know what you do is just make that moose for dinner. It's right there. Oh, that's not the right color.
I do not believe that Travis Taylor is Axelrod. Do not believe that. And Jonathan Davies in the chat room, I know you're listening. You can confirm that with me. Logan Black, why does Travis Taylor never seem that smart? And I don't mean his accent. I think his accent throws a lot of people off, but I really do believe that he is, from all intents and purposes, for people I know who have met him, he's a good guy. Okay. He's not one of those smug, stuck up government type officials. He's just a good guy. And from what I'm hearing, that position couldn't go to a nicer guy. That's just what I'm hearing. I've never talked to the man. I don't know what he's like. Okay. But I mean, he's one of those guys who can have a good time no matter what. Blue Cruz, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Think he eats breakfast for dinner?
Travis Taylor, with all that education, guaranteed does not eat breakfast for dinner. Guaranteed does not eat breakfast for dinner. Yeah, Jonathan Davies, no idea who Axelrod is. There's only one Axel that means anything anyways, and that is W. Axl Rose, the second greatest rock singer of all time behind Freddie Mercury. That's it.
The best hair.
Yeah. God, he's great. I'm going to watch all these sickos now. All these sickos now come in here and say, Axl Rose is not. Yeah, well, welcome to the jungle, baby. You're going to die.
I remember that song from Selena when I was a kid.
Speaking about Selena, my daughter, I took her to the car show tonight. Salinas.
Yeah, 1 minute, guys.
Sorry.
So I took my daughter to the car show today, and excuse me, and she had this little flat cap and a little black shirt, and it was perfect, and it was so funny because
Dickies?
they may have been.
You need to get her a pair of Dickies.
Oh, she's got plenty.
Okay, you got to save the story now. You got to save the story, Grantavius Mustache. Thurston Howell III, how you doing, buddy? Big thank you tonight to Brock, Simon, Heidi ×2, Flash Forward, YJ, and Mennonite Abe for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Big thank you to everybody giving us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Don't forget to comment after the show. It really helps with our algorithms. And do us a favor, if you're looking for new clothes, head on over to SOR.com, spaceoutradio.com, and get yourself some of our swag. We got some cool stuff there. Here we go, everyone, with the second half of the show. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the round table tonight. Joining us from the After Hours Show, our weekend show on our YouTube channel, Grant Baker, Thin Lizzie Borden from Disclosure Tonight, and the SOR UFO report, Tim Seanor. And if you're watching online, you can see Dirty Filth drawing another Paranormal Roundtable cartoon, our resident artist. We love him around here. And we're talking about Travis Taylor tonight. He's the head scientist at Skinwalker Ranch. But this week we found out, well, there's more to his game than just Skinwalker Ranch. We found out that he has his fingers dabbling as well in the UAP task force as the head scientist of UFOs there. Tim, I want to start with you on this one. Is he double dipping? Is he, he's not a public figure. Let's be honest, even though he's been on a ton of television shows and documentaries, he's not a public figure. He is a government employee and a private employee of Skinwalker Ranch and owner Brandon Fugel, who basically calls him his right-hand man. But Fugel, as far as we know, is a private landowner with interest in the phenomena. He just has the bucks to put behind this to do the studies. But does this mean now that we know what Travis Taylor is doing, that the studies now continue and the information could be flowing to the U.S. government as well?
Yeah. Excuse me. So Travis actually did a really good interview with my hero, George Knapp, on Mystery Wire. And just a quick shout out, because fantastic interview. George asked some great, insightful questions. And I have to say that the concept of double dipping, I don't think necessarily pertains if you're able to compartmentalize. And I think in this interview, Travis was very clear that he's very good at compartmentalizing information. So, for example, there wouldn't be any mixing of information. The government wouldn't necessarily be sourced information that was retrieved from Skinwalker Ranch. Brandon Fugel wouldn't necessarily get inside information from Travis on his work with the UAP task force. These things were all independently sourced. And again, let's consider that the story is very clear how Travis was approached to even get involved with the task force. He was asked. He didn't look for this gig. So it wasn't really a matter of, a matter of him sourcing another role. This was more of him being asked to share his expertise. And, what American wouldn't, I think, if you had the skills. So I don't think there's a conflict of interest. He showed that he's obviously able to compartmentalize, and I think that's the biggest role here. And just on a personal note, very quickly, I have met Travis, and he's very genuine and presents very well, informed, very, on the topic, and shares information very freely in person. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a family of genius. And my father, Donald, worked for Xerox his whole life. And we have a room filled with patents. And I have to tell you that my father, if you had met him, you would never know that he had a room full of patents on a topic that was completely in chemical engineering. And so again, you find that people on this intellectual level are able to compartmentalize not just their lives, but their career. So I think it speaks loads. And he's an absolute genuine person. I don't think we have anything to worry about with him, with his past being involved in the government whatsoever, on my personal opinion.
Well, that still remains to be seen. I want to believe that. I think he's, like I said, on the record, everything I have heard about Travis Taylor is not only is he the right man for the job, but he is a good guy as well, from everybody I've talked to who has talked with him, and they really enjoyed him. Like, nobody has said a bad word about him. You don't hear people going after Travis Taylor as they were Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon. I mean, who knows what it is? We know he's brilliant. We know that he has the dream job that we all want in studying ufology for a living on a government side. I mean, should we, though, for disclosure team here, should we be concerned that somebody with so much influence could influence what disclosure is? Bree, let's start with you on this one.
I mean, I guess it is something to, be concerned about, but not paranoid about, I guess. I guess I'm a little out of the loop at what exactly all the agencies are that he's working with, but I'm seeing that some people are saying that it's a conflict of interest, but then other people are saying science is science.
But is science when science really, Bree, hasn't accepted this as a topic? I mean, this is virgin territory for many scientists right now.
Yes, this is definitely an unknown field. Because I guess right now we're the furthest that we've been for disclosure wise and evidence wise. But yeah, at the end of the day, if something is, I guess, do the ends justify the means is what, comes to mind also. That what is at risk per se of him doing what he's doing and working with the companies together.
All right. Well, let's bring Tim back in here. Tim, do you have any issue with what Travis Taylor is doing? Do you feel that he is someone who could play a real conflict of interest? Maybe not conflict of interest. That's the wrong word. Be a real decision maker of what disclosure truly is.
Right. I mean, that's a great question. And we saw how Lou impacted the community, be it good, bad, or indifferent. He impacted the community from a lot of sources. And so obviously Travis Taylor is going to impact the community. And we have to consider what that impact is and why. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, obviously. Do I think that it could? Well, so yes, something will transpire by having him in particular. I would say perhaps we'll get a little more grasp on what the actual task force would be doing in its role. Maybe we'll be getting a little more inside information for some of the questions that we as the UFO enthusiasts want to know about. We can see perhaps into the scope a little bit clearer. because up until this point, we've only had a representative that had stories and perhaps documents and military evidence that was being released, right? And so that's kind of what Lou brought. So now in this new era, we have somebody with boots on the ground, perhaps in that same sort of role, as a spokesperson, if you will, for what the hot topic is. He would at least be bringing us some data that he can show us, because not only is he on a show where he can follow up on them, but he would be bringing us the other side of the story as well, hopefully, as Lou did, as to what the actual movements of UAP task force and the significance of what's being done in government will all be brought to light, kind of all in one venue, I guess. And that's kind of where we're seeing this topic going in disclosure. I mean, the next big movement in Congress obviously is going to be not just bringing up history, but like bringing scientists with their data and showing it firsthand. I think that's the next move. So he's a perfect representative of that leadership.
But can we trust him to sit in front of Congress and say what we as the public need him to say, Tim?
I think absolutely. I recently sat in front of him and heard him say exactly this. So if you're able to hear a little more about how he feels personally on what the movement needs to be, I think you're going to hear a lot of the same progression that we're moving forward on with the same ball that was thrown to him by Lou Elizondo and that team. So a matter of trusting him, I just say sit back and watch. To this point, he hasn't demonstrated anything shady. He's given no red flags. As for us to wonder why we shouldn't absolutely be thrilled to have this person in this position.
Grant, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I agree 100% actually. Tim, you're right on the dot with that. After the last, 10 minutes of me catching up on my own with this, because to be quite frank, I had not heard this name until tonight. And so I decided I'm going to go ahead and just research it, dive in. There was one thing on a little bit of a blurb that I had watched. He wrote a book about the U.S. government should prepare for alien contact, which caught the attention of Jay Stratton. And it goes
I'm glad you
on
brought that up.
with Harry Reid, and I'm the things that I'm reading about this gentleman. The fact that he's very articulated, he's very open about the subject, and he's trying to push the agenda. And when I say push the agenda, I don't say that in a negative light. He is literally just trying to make people aware. And everything that I've been reading on him within the last 10 minutes alone, I got a good feeling about him. My gut says this guy is going to help us out, and he's going to go places. He's saying the right things. He's making the right moves. He's not somebody that wants to be in the spotlight. When he does do interviews, he's just very real to me. You ever get that feeling when someone's just real and they're just like, hey, this is what's going on. Why aren't you guys paying attention to this? I agree with you, Tim. I'm 100% on board with this guy.
And very quickly before Bree, I want to interject. Well done on picking up on that book, because that book in particular was on the desk of the man that asked him to join the UAP task force.
I read that.
So, I mean, I thought that was a massive cookie to be dropping. If you guys are interested in what we're doing to prepare potentially, read his book, right? I thought that was a massive, looking for info, read this book. It's what the government is reading in preparation. So why shouldn't we? Well done on calling that in particular out. And yeah, please.
When I looked him up, it actually is quite interesting when you look him up. There's quite a few things on there. I did find one post. It's by 8newsnow.com. I mean, I can put it in the chat group if you guys want me to, so you guys can have the link to read this yourself. It is really amazing. I don't know. Double dipping is the wrong word. I think this guy is on track.
Well, the reason why I said double dipping, guys, is because of the fact that, I mean, how can I put this? It's like having a referee in any sport being the commissioner of the sport as well. You know what
I
I'm saying?
understand what you're saying. You're saying kind
Mhm.
of like he has this deep insider knowledge, potentially, is
Conflict
what
of
you're thinking.
interest.
And then he has to go out and just like look at ants with a magnifying glass, for a television show. Like the two things don't balance out, is what you're saying. And I do understand that. Like, how can he have this knowledge and then just like do
There's no
this?
way, and I'm only playing devil's advocate here.
It's fair. It's
Okay?
fair.
Only playing devil's advocate here, but what I'm looking at here, guys, is someone who is talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's talking about bringing the whole disclosure movement to the government. I mean, to the public. Yet on the other side of his mouth, he's playing the fact that he's the number one scientist for the U.S. government regarding this subject, or at least the UAPTF. Pardon me. So isn't that double dipping the system?
Well, you're seeing that as two separate things, and I see them as one and the same. But I think it's absolutely perspective. But I'm sorry, Bree, I've cut you off a few times. Please, I'm dying to hear how you feel. Over to you.
I was gonna say, I don't trust the government. I don't trust. So with as much validations and achievements as he has, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna take his readings and understandings and findings seriously, but it makes me have a red flag, just personal reasons. So that's my only thing. It's like, I'm totally like, don't let the man, it's like, down with the man. And
Right.
but you
No,
have to be
I
with the man.
appreciate and I
And
appreciate your
so
skepticism.
I will be honest that I am skeptical, guarded at first until I assess the situation. And I guess I haven't really seen him do a lot of interviews or speaking, because that's how I get that's how I can get a reading off of someone, by seeing their body behavior and all that good stuff that you pick up without hearing anything. So that's just where I'm not validating what he's doing, but I am a skeptical mind. So
That's healthy.
are guarded.
I mean,
I'm a Capricorn.
I still
so
am.
I'm
I mean,
guarded.
I am too. I'm right. I'm with you. Go ahead.
I think, pardon me, I think we could see in this case, it's going to be one of those situations where it's the actions are going to speak louder than words. And what does Travis Taylor do to bring this out to the public, if that's his job, even if he gets called to Congress? Like I said, I will go on record and say I have never talked to the man. We are trying to get him on the show. We hope that we have a healthy relationship with him and the people around him. And I would believe personally that we would enjoy an interview from him, right? We would. That being said, I'm going to take this the same way I took the To the Stars Academy, which was, I'm going to say to our audience, the best thing to do is to sit back and let the actions speak louder than the words.
Agreed.
Okay. And in the end, we were 100% right about the To the Stars Academy when it collapsed. From day one, when they held the pressless press conference, right until the day Elizondo Mellon and Steve Justice left. And I will say the same thing about Travis Taylor in a different text, but we have to make sure as a UFO public that we stop falling in love with all of these little superstars that are coming up and making their way forward. But what we do need to do is we do need to question the morality of what the situation is. There is a lot at play. We're not just dealing with the American public. We're dealing with 7.8 billion people here.
Earthly.
Right? And that's my concern. Anybody want to jump on that? We have 4 minutes left.
No, I believe you're right on that. And I mean,
Um,
within reading, go ahead.
Oh no, you finish.
Oh, I was going to say, in just reading the little blurb that I did post it in the chats for anybody that wants to see it. Anybody that's just listening on this terrestrial radio, go ahead and jump over to the YouTube side and get that. Realistically, though, in this one article, I did the same thing. I fell in love with him just immediately. It's eloquent. It's great. But yes, you do got to take it with a grain of salt. We do have to see the actions, find out what he's actually going to do, see if he's going to put one step in front of the other and try to continue this on, and see if he's going to help society find out, not just the government, because realistically, he does work for the government. Yes, he did write a book trying to tell them, and that's where when I fall in love with something, it's he's trying to tell them, look, you guys, you got to prepare for alien contact. That was the silver lining for me. I was like, okay, so he's coming out, the super knowledgeable dude, saying you guys got to prepare for this. There's so much in that one sentence. You have to prepare for alien contact. So now we've already confirmed that the government's already said they're real. This guy says they're real and we have to prepare for it. And he's super knowledgeable. He's not an idiot. I mean, I'm married to a doctor, and I'll tell you right now, they have a very, what's the word for that?
Well, you can be book smart, but not street smart too.
And there, I do agree with that. And I'm not going to, we could go on for hours about that one. But realistically, though, when it comes to book smarts, this guy has it, and he's got street cred, so to speak, in this field. So he has the street smarts, in my opinion. Everybody else can make their own, but realistically, we're looking at somebody that is dealing with the government in a government position, but dealing with them like we would. And that's how I'm looking at it. He's trying to deal with him by being, it's kind of like when in Rome, do as the Romans do, but this guy is like, when in Rome, I'm telling the Romans, that's a Trojan horse, dude. Look at it for what it is. He's kind of the whistleblower for the government, and hopefully they listen.
Right. And so, not to forget, he was working on a show, and someone had read his book. And so he was approached to be a part of a task force, one member of a task force. And, I think the fact that potentially he would be able to have insider knowledge and be shown things that only that task force are seeing is helpful. However, we're not assuming that he's getting insider knowledge on classified data that already exists, right? That we're not assuming that. And so the conflict of interest, I think, is very narrow, because let's just say you're talking about a conflict of interest between doing a governmental position with the UAP task force and a TV show where he had an NDA and, not to talk about his TV show outside of the TV show. And he wasn't supposed to talk about his project outside of the project. And of course he couldn't tell his employer, but as long as it didn't conflict with what his job with the employer is, then he's not in breach of contract. And as long as he's not breaking his NDA and he's reviewing the data and perhaps even creating new data specifically for that group, that's not a conflict of interest. That is absolutely exactly how he explained it in his interview, that he's able to confine that information to each of those things. Now, do you think that it's okay to moonlight at two different jobs? Well, that may be a moral issue, and I think that's up to each of us to determine. It may be a legal issue for other people that are bound by a contract where they can't work for other people, but that wasn't his situation. So, we can look deeply into it, but at the same rate, there is a conflict potentially, but I think it only lies within him and how he handles it.
On that note, we're going to get you guys to hold on right there. Hard to believe we're already through 2 hours of this Paranormal Roundtable right here on Spaced Out Radio. We got 1 hour to go with Thin Lizzy Borden, Grant Baker, from After Hours on our YouTube channel, Tim Seanor from Disclosure Tonight, as well as our UFO report, and Dirty Filth painting away on the cartoons tonight. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, we're clear. I'm just going to step away for a quick second here, okay?
I am too, but before I go, Travis's book is called Alien Invasion: How to Defend Earth, and you can get it for like $8 on Kindle or $12 paperback at our least favorite book dealer.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that, because Kira was wondering about it, and I didn't have the time to look it up real quick and post it out there. I do have a question real quick for you, though.
Shoot.
Did Taylor, now I know that, what was it? Stratton and Reed, did Taylor actually work with OSAP and ATIP, or did he just communicate between the two companies or the two groups?
I'm sorry, Taylor was never involved in any of that.
So, but he caught the attention of Stratton then.
Correct.
Who
for
was
the
OSAP?
UAP task force.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm not sure of his background, but yeah, that's the only link there is that, Travis has had his head down. He was writing science fiction, and then he wrote this book that caught his attention. And so this is still a work of fiction, but, it's obviously coming from a highly intelligent PhD. And a lot of his science fiction is even kind of theoretical in its own weird way if you read it.
So was Arthur C. Clarke, but realistically,
exactly.
But when you look at like Arthur C. Clarke, and he had like his Rama series, which is what I've talked about before, when you have different beings, and I love saying aliens, but realistically, we're all beings in some way, shape, or form. So have you ever read the Rama series?
Who is the author?
Arthur C. Clarke.
I don't think I read it. No.
You should read it. There's some very interesting things in there. So and just for a little bit of a spoiler, there's these, I think it was Rama 2. I don't remember which one it was. But anyways, on the ship, there's people, and there's one in particular individual who comes across these spiders, and he's scared of them. And these spiders have these weird, like flashing, how would I say, like colors around their head, and that's how they communicated. So it's one of those things where science fiction could be real. I'm one of the guys that has the belief that anything that we can think of is real somewhere in the universe. So is there a predator out there? Yeah. Is there an alien out there? Probably. I mean, mathematically speaking, everything's possible. The universe is so stinking large. There's probably another me out there doing something completely different, but has the exact same genome and DNA sequence that I have.
But no mustache.
Well, I'm the only one in the universe that has a mustache like this. And my man, you're the only one that has
the other one
perfect...
can actually grow a beard.
I was actually going to describe Phil's epic chest hair.
That's okay. We don't need to do that. Carry on.
Well, I mean, we already found out that you save on shampoo, but you love the conditioner for your chest hair the other night. So
it gives good body. What can I say?
I love you, my man. You're so awesome. Oh my goodness.
Okay, back to UFOs.
Oh yeah. Oh, did you see the one the other night that I shot in sequence? Oh, you even paused painting.
No, I'm just drawing here, man. You guys are taking it away. Take it away, Grant and Tim.
I will take
and Bree, if you're there, whoever's not hanging out.
I'm here.
There you go. Knock it out of the park.
Oh yeah. I love UFOs, man. I see them all the time. I live in a very interesting part of the world. In the United States, I am Southern Oregon. I am within viewing distance of Mount Shasta, and I see UFOs all the time. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Travis.
And I, of course, am also in Oregon,
Oh,
and
yep.
there are tons of UAP and UFO.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I need to get Dave down here. I'm going to show Dave the time of his life if he comes down here. We're going to go UFO watching. We're going to go fishing, Sasquatch
Bigfoots.
hunting.
Yeah.
He's going to have the best lobster and steak he's ever had. And it's going to be
Halloween time in Portland, there's a bunch of witches that do like that are on like the river or water. I don't know what water they're on, but it's a bunch of women on like those paddle boards, and they're dressed as witches. So like the stereotypical witch hat, and then like the black cape. So I definitely want to go to Portland for one Halloween. I have someone I worked with that lives there.
Well, you know what, Grant Tavius, I got to book my holidays here soon, so that may happen.
Let's talk.
All right. Before we get going here, just so you know, after the show is done, we're going to have to call it a little bit early. There's not going to be an after show. I got to meet with our team afterwards and just go over some weekend stuff. But we will have another great hour here coming up. Thank you so much tonight to Mennonite Abe, YJ, Heidi ×2, Flash Forward, Brock, and Simon for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, and after this show, comment below. It really helps with our algorithms. Here we go, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ironism. Ironism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the round table tonight. Joining us from our weekend after-hour show on our YouTube channel, Grant Baker, Thin Lizzie Borden, welcome to the show, as well as from our UFO report, Tim Seanor, who also dabbles with the Disclosure Tonight panel on Thomas Fessler's YouTube channel, and we thank them for allowing us to have Tim join us as well. Dirty Filth continues to draw the cartoons, which we love around here, and you can find his new book on Amazon. We're going to get into a little bit more international flavor here. Now, I know I'm the token Canadian on the panel, but recently we've seen the Canadian government start to get on the idea of UFOs. And that started at the beginning of this month when Member of Parliament Larry McGwier came on this show to talk about UAP or drones being seen over Canadian nuclear power facilities. And, you know, that really blew up. That show went a little bit viral in the UFO world and even in the Canadian media, which was great for us on a selfish level. But on a news level, it was even better. And the fact that, you know, we got Brazil happening, Canada's starting to finally open up and bring in the UAP discussion. We already know what's happening in the United States, but let's talk about this for a second. You know, from an American perspective, Grant, I'm curious your thoughts on the Canadian government and members of Parliament now starting to talk about UFOs.
Okay, I'm gonna start this off with, I think that the Canadian government has always been about this. They've been very open. What is it? The Department of Transportation that does it up there, that handles that?
There's a number of groups. There's Transport Canada, Nav Canada, which controls the skies.
Mhm.
You have the RCMP, you have Canada's spy agency CSIS, the Ministry of Defense, that also, and Department of National Defense, actually, who takes in reports for the Canadian military. There's a number of agencies who actually have their files.
So here's the interesting thing, though. They've always been open about it. To get like a FOIA thing down here, it's remarkably difficult. You got to word it just right. But Canada, literally, I've been listening to so many podcasts and doing a little bit of research with it. It almost seems like they are ahead of the United States a little bit on this, especially when it comes to just taking in the information and being open about it. So it's one of those deals where I think if Canada really just said, you know what, we're not waiting for the United States, they probably have enough information to do so. They could probably blow us out of the water down here.
Well, the interesting part about it, though, is two things. Bree, and we'll bring you in on this one next. Number one, Canada doesn't have the military infrastructure that the United States has, or even come close to it. Okay, so this isn't a military issue unless you think about it with the grouping of NORAD, okay, which is the North American Radar Air Defense.
Mm.
And so NORAD would have a big play in that. But Canada really doesn't have the military to hide this. Canada doesn't have any nuclear weapons. We do have nuclear power facilities from Ontario out east, not out west. We do believe that, actually, I know for a fact that the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, love him or hate him, he does have nice socks. So let's not insult the socks when we talk about the illustrious Prime Minister who's always in hot water. Okay? But we know he was read in on the subject between August and December of 2019 by former ambassador to the United States, David McNaughton. We know that the former military minister of defense, Harjit Sajjan, was read in just 4 days before the Americans released their DIA report last year, which is the anniversary coming up very, very quickly here. So we know that there are people with information. We do know that the Conservative Party of Canada is taking this very seriously. And as they seek for a new leader in their party, this actually may become a question of leadership. And what do they think? Because I know people who are very close to me may have the same blood as me that are members of the Conservative Party of Canada. So there's a good chance that that question could be brought up. But the idea that Canada has now opened its doors to this subject, we know Mexico has, we know Brazil has, that pretty much covers the entire two Western continents. Bree, I'm curious, is this a good thing? Does Canada need to step it up further? Because they're not coming at this like the Americans are on a military level.
I mean, just because someone's doing it one way doesn't mean it's the right way. It's good that every country is it seems like every country is expressing interest in this. I'm by far not going to judge Canada on their approach that they've taken, I guess, on the UAP and disclosure and everything that's going on right now. So I'll cheer you guys on. I'll be your supportive, from the southern, I'm from Minnesota originally, so I'm practically Canadian. I mean, oh yeah, don't you know? I mean, but yeah, it's good to see other countries doing it and doing it their way. It doesn't need to be cookie cutter. You don't have to have the biggest army to win something. We've seen that. It's about technique and about smarts and who you have, behind the lenses.
I think that's a great comment. And, coming at it, Tim, from two totally different angles, the American more from a military and security side, whereas Canada's coming at this from a completely different angle. How does that change the UFO game as we look at it overall?
Right. That's a good question. And so I grew up in Rochester, New York, and used to sneak over the border to drink before I was legal. And we'd go to Niagara Falls to this little club called the Igloo, which would sneak us in and we could drink beers. So I love Canada. And this was just one more feather in the cap. I was so excited to see them get on board. Now, here's where we may part ways, and you may not like what I have to say, because I do feel like they gave a real softball entrance into this. And it was a very non-committal way to kind of present their position, where they claim to have no current cases that they could point to, in particular, other than drone incursions. I found that terminology a little frustrating. But again, we are looking at a totally different way of getting into it than the Americans, which Bree highlighted here, by softballing their way in, by showing how easy it is to get into restricted airspace over power plants. And I think the way the Americans approached it were similar, except they applied a little pressure by adding threat and being very mysterious with the release of the videos that some showed drones. So let's just take the same story and give it two presentations and consider it the same. However, we're seeing Canada maybe softball their way in. I think it's still a strong representation of what they're trying to get at, but the wordage I think rubbed against me a little wrong. Highlighting drone.
I can
Please.
answer that. They needed a way, and this is from my insider sources, they needed a way to get the subject into the media. And they needed a proper way, because they knew that Prime Minister Trudeau, love him or hate him, okay, he is strictly on his own agenda, which means he doesn't care what any of the opposition parties in Canada mean. See, up here in Canada, in the US, you have your Republicans and you have your Democrats. Okay, the Libertarians never win anything, and nobody else ever wins anything. Up here in our House of Commons, which would be like your Congress, okay, we have liberals in power, conservatives as opposition, the New Democratic Party as opposition, the Green Party as opposition, and the Bloc Québécois as opposition. So there's 5 parties with different voices sitting in the House of Commons right now. The New Democratic Party is siding with the Conservative Party on the UAPs moving forward. However, being in opposition, it's not like the US, where they can only recommend ideas to talk to, but the governing body, which is the Liberals, have the power to say yay or nay. And 9.5 times out of 10, if it doesn't come from Trudeau's mouth, nothing ever happens, because he's very selfish that way. So that is the reason why they had to get it softballed in order to make the topic hopefully explode within the media. Now, there's only been a couple of media outlets that have really jumped on that, excluding our own. And that is something that has been a little bit of a bursting of the bubble. But the main thing is the topic is now being talked about. Now what's happened is other members of parliament who are in what we call opposition or critic positions have the ability now to go to their representatives. So let's say you're a critic of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You go to the Minister of Justice or whoever is controlling the RCP, and you now have the ability to hit them up and say, what does the RCMP know about these reports of UAP? How long have they been having it? So what it's done is we're starting off as a little snowball, a speck of snow at the top of a hill, and we're trying to get it rolling down the hill in order to get those in power to actually speak about the subject.
And we all actually owe you, Dave, from SOR, a huge amount of thanks for your role, your personal effort in this. And so we thank you, sir. Very graciously, we all thank you. And so you've made a huge stride for your country, and they will hopefully all know it. We know.
Well, I mean, you know what? The job isn't done. There are a number of people pushing. I'm pushing.
You're a patriot, sir. You're a true patriot.
Well, thank you. But Daniel Otis, freelance journalist, is pushing. Chris Rutkowski is pushing. Grant Cameron is pushing. There's a number of people who are pushing for this subject.
Good.
And it's finally starting to open the doors. I actually yesterday, I'm not going to name the name of the person, but I actually yesterday had a conversation with a psychiatrist, not for myself, but he got a hold of me on Twitter regarding his understanding of wanting to help out with people who have been abducted. And this it's not a new topic to him, but it's one that the UFO topic in Canada has now intrigued him. He's now like a fish on a hook, and he got a hold of me because he wanted to be able to
bravely volunteer.
Talk about this.
Yeah.
Hey, if it's volunteer, who knows?
I mean, but bravely, that's bravery right there. I mean, I commend anyone that's willing to come forward and offer up their skills in their profession, something that huge. You're putting your PhD on the line. Come on. I think that's fantastic, Dave. That's not a little bit. That's a big step for anybody. So well on that person.
Yeah. I mean, so the idea that we have people in professional places starting to add up and to make things happen, I think is important to the cause, because what it ends up doing is it ends up putting more pressure on politicians. I'm going to be meeting with my local politician here, hopefully within the next month to two, in order to discuss with him the UAP subject, because he is the junior critic to the Ministry of Defense. I want to talk to him about it. And now that it's out that I'm kind of the guy who helped get the ball rolling, I think I may have some pull. And I want to see where I can push that. Worst thing he's going to say is no, but we're going to push that ball. We have to. Doesn't matter whether you're in Canada, the United States, or wherever. Right? But the idea behind, but here's the exciting thing that I like about Canada being involved, and I'm curious your opinions. The fact that up here, it's not so much about the military, it's about everything else. How does that change the outlook for potential disclosure, Canadian style? Tim, let's start with you.
I would love to see it. And you know what? It's one of these things that I think we've all briefly touched on tonight, that at this point, we're seeing countries fall under the charms of UAP day by day. And so now it's just a race to get the data, and for the first country to be like, look, here's the crew of the ship, and we haven't figured out the ship yet because these guys don't fit in the ship just right. But whatever, show us the stuff. I think we're almost there. And so, that's next. And so full disclosure will come, I think, on its own. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what Grant and Bree have to say on this one.
Bree, let's go to you.
Let's get the question again, because I was listening to Tim, going back to what you were saying about like pushing.
How does Canada, because we're not a military country like the U.S., how can they affect disclosure on a different level than from a military level?
Well, I guess political, because you can still do stuff politically and not be military. But I guess that's a good question, because I guess you automatically think of the military to, like, I guess you're oblivious about all that stuff because you think that the military is going to take care of our, national security. So I guess I haven't thought of it in that aspect, that I guess by taking it a different approach, it might not yield as much results. Kind of, they're not squeezing an arm. But I still think that there could still be people that can have access to things, that can be whistleblowers. And maybe I'm an optimist a little bit, or I root for the underdog, where don't discredit their methods. They could still, but putting it that way, when you compare it with the muscle that military provides, it seems like it's the underdog that can't really, keep up with the big military that the US seems to be.
Right. How about you, Grant?
I think
What's the difference that you see?
I think the U.S. military is what's hindering us in certain cases. And just kind of reverting back to what I had said before about Canada being in the lead on this. When I say that, I want to reiterate it and just kind of fill in the blanks, where they weren't afraid to actually take the time to document things. I think Canada has a lot more documentation, is more willing to freely give it out, more so versus the United States. So when it comes to furthering the agenda, I mean, they have their own way. They're going to be different. Every country is going to be different. You look at Brazil and they're just blatant about it. The softball effect, quote unquote, for anybody that's not, seeing it, everybody's going to have their own way about it. But I do think that Canada has enough information to deduce their own conclusion of what's going on. Go
I have
ahead,
a quick
Tim.
question. Well, so Grant, I guess just to rebut that, aren't we kind of seeing the way they approached it initially as like an easy way out potentially?
Well, of course
Like
it is.
they could easily back out this way, and so again, but maybe Canada is looking to see what the U.S. does.
I
A
think,
lot of other countries look for the U.S.'s lead, at least.
well, and therein lies the problem. So you have a bunch of countries that are having all these reports. You have millions of people reporting this thing to, whether it's city police or 911 or however they're going to report it, whether they go to MUFON or talk to Dave Scott at SOR Radio. It doesn't matter how you report it. The thing is, I think the problem globally is everybody's looking at the U.S. because way back when Europe finally just said, hey, here's everything we got. I think that was like a call on the table of cards. It's like, I call what you got. We're waiting for the smoking gun. Everybody thinks the United States has a smoking gun. And whether we do or not, I wish I could speak. I live in this country. I live in the United States, and they're so frustrating. They're so frustrating when it comes to this topic. It's just a bunch of roundabout nonsense terms. Everybody calls it a nothing burger. And you have somebody like Canada that says, okay, they were waiting for the last report. And when they saw it, in my mind, in my belief system, Canada was like, oh, well, that's a big nothing burger. So right now they might be taking the easy way out or softballing it. There's other countries that are just going to throw it at a fastball. Realistically, the one thing I enjoy about listening to certain reports that Canada gets is they actually take it seriously. They're reported, they're documented. Now, if there's somebody out there that has the ability to go in and find those, oh gosh, it's probably 10,000 pages of documents and figure it out, well, get it ready.
We have the panel for one more half hour here on Spaced Out Radio. From After Hours, Thin Lizzie Borden, Grant Baker, Dirty Filth on the cartoons. From the UFO Report and Disclosure Tonight, Tim Seanor and myself, Dave Scott. Up next, Experiencers and Disclosure. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Do you want me to save it, or should I just say what I was going to say right there?
Well, first off, the best line of the night on the chat room from Jeremy Jones. Nicole eats grape nuts for breakfast. Oh, yeah.
He's
So
why
here's a
there's a
question.
shortage of them.
Here's a question, Jeremy. Does he let them soak, or does he eat them right after he puts the milk on them?
He's the
Or-
kind
I
or
of guy.
heat
bet
him
he
up.
eats them with a
Microwave them.
glass of milk separately.
Oh, my God.
I think he does.
He
that.
is the
Oh,
type of
that's
guy
harsh.
who
Spoonfuls
takes it,
and-
who puts the milk in the bowl first, then heats it up in the microwave, and then pours the cereal in after.
Oh my, yeah,
I've done
there
that.
you go.
I was
I've done that to take the chill off. I've done it to take the chill off.
I don't own a microwave.
That's good
What?
because
Random. Just threw that in there.
that's good. That's good
So good.
because they've done tests of taking water that was
Excuse
been microwaved versus not microwaved water, and the plant. There's a
Saw that.
huge
So random. So
difference
random.
in the plants.
Hi, Justin Maynard. How you doing,
That
buddy?
was great.
Les
I love
Paul
that.
Holland.
Dirty Filth just tosses in a grenade every once in a while. It's so
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
By the way, do you guys want to see something beautiful?
Absolutely.
Oh, let me show you this.
Oh, it's
Hold on.
Dave. Oh God, you are beautiful.
Don't turn around.
I got this from Grand Paul Holland.
Oh,
Look at that guitar.
Wow.
He just got into chat.
It looks like it's agate. Is that an agate
It is
guitar pick?
agate.
Looks like a guitar
Oh my
pick.
goodness.
Is it a guitar
Now-
pick?
Oh wow!
Apparently, yeah, it's a guitar pick. And so this guitar pick apparently is made by Les Paul Holland's neighbor, who has made guitar picks for legends such as Joe
Cool.
Satriani,
Oh my
Joe
gosh.
Bonamassa, Slash, and others.
Want it?
So
And-
realistically,
And he sent me one, and I idolize this thing. Like I take it out. Look. Now the other day I went and took it to my son's music teacher, who's teaching him guitar, and I showed him the pick, and I let my son take a few strums of Slayer on it, and he absolutely loved it. But I mean, wow, I'm fucking awesome. You know?
That looks totally cherry.
So I and I'm gonna say this. I have a box that's a plethora for everybody out there of picks. My favorite, because I'm more of a rhythm, so I use a 42 millimeter. When it comes to the harder stuff, if I'm playing like my 5-string fretless, that's when I step up to something of that thickness and that hardness. And it's that looks like an amazing pick. Now I got to make one myself. Darn it!
Go shred.
Oh, I love playing a guitar. I've been playing for 27 years, man.
I think I was 12 when I started, and I'm 52. I think
There's
52.
no way you're 52.
Yeah, man. 1970, I was born.
He's old.
I'm sticking
Wicked old.
home.
There's no
Wicked
way.
old. Yeah,
You're
I graduated.
the oldest
Oh.
one on here on this show, on this panel, and you look
am.
like you're younger than I am.
Dude, I lived in Hawaii, and I've never done, drugs or drinking. I just chill.
Oh, that's where it got me. The drinking.
I've had a simple life.
I recently quit, and that was easy. Those cigarettes, man. I'm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cigarettes
You're
are
good.
horrible.
You're good at it.
I'm a nature boy.
Yeah, a resident
I'm a
Ric
Earth
Flair.
sign.
it's like a much prettier version of Howie.
Prettier. Howie's gorgeous. What?
Hey, take that
I
as
love
a
a
compliment.
schooner.
Total
I'm gonna
Howie
put a-
Mandel.
I'm gonna put a rubber glove over my head right now. I have some, but it would just.
If you can do Bobby's voice, I will laugh.
I'm not gonna do it. Of course,
I
I can
see
do
it.
Bobby's voice.
Oh,
Of
you
course,
gotta
I
do
can
it.
do it.
You gotta do
Come
it.
on, I can't do it right now. No way.
Oh my
No,
god!
I'm not
Oh
gonna
my
do it.
god!
Sorry.
Do you
All right,
want to
that's
zap
it.
us, kids?
Okay, I
epic.
quit.
that
You
threw him
just
over the edge.
dirty filth that just threw him over the edge. He's gone. He's done.
Oh,
He
Oh, that-
literally bounced. Oh,
All right, guys.
Sorry.
A big thank you to Heidi for the hat trick of super chats. Brock, Simon, Flash Forward, YJ, and our good friend Mennonite Abe for the amazing super chats tonight. We very much appreciate the love and support. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Don't forget after the show to leave a comment. And here we go with the final half hour.
I can't believe this.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate hurting your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce you to our panel. We have Grant Baker, Thin Lizzie Borden from our After Hours show on the weekend. We have Tim Seanor from Disclosure Tonight and our UFO report hanging on out with us, Dirty Filth drawing the cartoons. And we're going to get into the experiencer side of Disclosure. J. Christopher King was a guest earlier this week regarding UFOs and Disclosure. And one of the forgotten things about all of this, and it did come up in the Brazilian hearings, was about experiencers and what people are going through with abductions and everything. Have we dropped the ball not only in the conversation, but as all of UFO Twitter about the importance of the experiencer? And the reason why I ask that is, in my opinion, the experiencers have really been cast aside the last couple of years while we focus on security, while we focus on technology, when we focus on propulsion systems or some sort of propulsion systems, when we focus on the military. So let's just get right down to it. Grant, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, realistically, you got to look at it like this: is you're taking the people that are experiencers, and there's been so many people that have been. You got to talk to experiencers, whether it's Grant Cameron or whoever else you're going to talk to. You got to talk to the experiencers. If you listen to those stories that they have all across the globe, these people don't know each other, and they are super, super similar. They have a lot of common denominators. So when it comes down to it, it's one of those deals where I think that the powers that be are purposely, putting the blankets over the experiencers and trying to do the sleight of hand, one of those bait and switch kind of deals. They don't want to listen to it. They don't want to hear it. But realistically, I think that's where our most information is going to come from. I know there's nuts and bolts. I know there's going to be sensors out there that are going to tell us a lot more scientific data. But realistically, there are so many experiencers out there that they're just being quieted. Why? What are they trying to hide? Are they not trying to let this out? Are they... What's the deal? I'm in the same frame of mind. I don't understand why they're not getting out there and talking to these people. It is important, especially since the fact that almost every single one of them have some kind of common denominator. And I'm not talking like one or two. Many circumstances where they're saying the same thing. They have the same experiences. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild.
Bree, as someone who is quite intuitive and kind of, has talked with a lot of experiencers that you've gone over, the one thing that most experiencers want out of anything is validation. Validation that their anecdotal stories be taken seriously, that their voice be heard, their voice even be trusted. Where do we stand on this? Because for experiencers, disclosure is personal.
Yeah. And this is where, like, I guess this is my arena. Being the highly sensitive person, the empath, I empathize with survivors. And I didn't use the word victim. Survivors. Because so many, the common thing is people can tell their truth about what happened to them. People aren't going to believe them. And it's unfortunate because I don't think that the experiencers are being thought of or are a concern. I didn't, in Vegas, I learned that MUFON has therapy for experiencers or abductees. And like, I didn't know that. And it's something that it's a great asset that it's like, well, more people should know about it. But I do feel like the experiencers are cast aside. They are not visible. Like Grant said, that their voice is being silenced. Now, why does someone want someone's voice to be silenced? Because something happened. And people don't want it to get out. I mean, it's the same thing. And because my empathy for women's rights and issue abuse is that women who go through SA, and then people that go through an experience, with a ET, like, those are real, and that's trauma. And I think a lot of that just people kind of get scoffed at. But yeah, those are my 2 cents about that. I don't really feel that the experiencers are heard or seen or cared about. That people, I feel like, should use more empathy with talking about abductee or anyone that has any experiences like that.
All right, Tim, let's bring you in here. As somebody who has experience and eyewitnessed UFOs along with you and your family, you would want your say heard. You would want you're one of the fortunate ones. You have video and photographic footage of what happened during your encounter. The 99% of people who have experiences don't have it on film, don't have it on tape, don't have it on their cell phone, or even their webcam that they have set up in their room for OnlyFans, whatever it may be. Okay. But the idea behind it is you're of a very unique class that you got photographic evidence of yours. Yet here we are discussing it, same topics, different types of evidence, and yet both ignored right now by those in power of the UFO community, outside of the likes of people like Gary Nolan at Stanford University, Jacques Vallée, what's happening at Rice University. So at some point, we need to get the experiencers into this hot button topic in the United States. How do you feel about that?
It's a big question. That's a big question. And so, yeah, I mean, I've always been somebody that can get behind a topic, as an activist, and it's in my nature. And then having experience broke me out of my paradigm and forced me into this world. And so for me, I came from a place where I had really no choice but to do what I'm exactly doing. But, experiencers are very all different, and there's different levels of that as well. And so for that group of everything from just seeing something and then having your kind of experience, which is up close and personal, that's a huge array of people that are being represented very loosely at this point. And so, it can be a little frustrating, but again, we've been told by lots of people that are in the disclosure movement, that are in the know and kind of moving in the progress, that it's going to be a slow process. And so an experiencer's story is hard, even with my photographs, even with my evidence. There's always going to be somebody that will scrutinize that. And so to cast an experiencer that has something deeper with an even more serious level of PTSD than even I can imagine, isn't fair. And it's not, the public isn't ready to accept that without an element of scorn or spacey music behind it. So this will become more relevant as a topic, I think, as time goes, but this is definitely a slow process. It sucks, that experiencers have to wait to be properly represented. But I think it will happen over time. Am I personally frustrated? No, I'm not, because I live in my own world of disclosure. Just being here and sharing it, that's it. And I'm out there all the time with my cameras. I'm out there talking to other witnesses. That's the stuff that helps me sleep. So at some point it'll come out in a larger way, but it's not going to be easy because it's such a hard topic if you haven't had an experience to accept. And so they're doing it in a much more mundane sense with a more, nuts and bolts, factual sort of aspect that people can just open the door to this topic, and then they can get into consciousness and contact later, because that's tough. And who we have bandwagoning all of that stuff are people that maybe shouldn't be at this point with this topic. We're not maybe ready for that heavy of a detail publicly, and I hate saying it, because I love full disclosure, but at the same rate, I don't want to see it being scorned completely and disregarded because it's too soon, which it kind of is now because it's very polarized, to where it could potentially be, if it's trickled out over time, where it could be eased. And so perhaps experiencers will be treated with respect. I guess just respect at this point. I would say that would make it just simple. You don't have to worry about your job.
That seems a little difficult right now, considering that for years the U.S. government went out of their way to fight against experiencers and whistleblowers and people who came out digging for knowledge, Tim.
Right, exactly. And so what it did was push all these potential amazing people back away, and out of potentially where they could be. And, I don't want to say some people need to be out there, and thank goodness Whitley Strieber wrote his book, and a lot of people were comfortable because they saw that cover and they were like, I have to talk about my experience. And Betty and Barney Hill, and I mean, just the big ones, I guess, at least, those are, look at how those are treated. And we're pointing at those as our best historical evidence. It's, it's tough. And thank goodness Kathleen Marden is still around pushing the story so clearly and, describing evidence along with that story. I think that's going to help. But again, it's still early days. And so it's frustrating. But I don't think that the public on the whole is ready for that side of this story yet, personally. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. But, and I'm not speaking for all experiencers here, and I don't even consider myself really one. So it's hard to say that I'm speaking for them at all. But me personally, that's how I feel.
How about you, Grant?
I had to unmute myself first. I finally did it. No, I agree with you. the deal is there's a lot of experiencers out there that they know when they talk to people close to them, their families, any kind of their friends. Yeah, that's one thing where their friends are like, oh, that's interesting. But then, but you got these people that have legitimate, whether it be psychological or consciousness happenings that happen to them, these things that happen to them. And then you have a government or some type of agency that's going to just, oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, they're not going to take them seriously. That's super frustrating for a lot of people. I come out here and you say you're not an experiencer, yet you have physical evidence is, above par or even par on what people are seeing. You're an experiencer. There's so many people out there right now that want to experience something, want to see just something as simple as a UFO flying in the sky, and they can't do it. And they're frustrated on that aspect. So when it comes to a global phenomenon, it's more or less you have, and I don't understand it myself. I'm an experiencer myself. Dave, you're an experiencer. It's you can tell your story, and some people are going to believe it, some aren't. But darn it, and I wish I could say a different word. We'll just say, dang it. It's one of those deals where it's got to be taken seriously.
Well, let's take it a little bit further though, because there is one of the great debates in the whole UFO world right now is whether or not any type of anecdotal experience can be trusted as helping move the ball forward. I'm a firm believer that it can. I'm a firm believer that many experiencers have to be able to get their own personal events accepted by the scientific community, because there are people out there who've had some incredible experiences, whether it's downloads, whether it's photographs they've been shown, whether it's flying the ship, that could be the key cogs to anything scientific and moving the ball forward. And this is where, Grant, I think we're missing the ball here. I really do.
There's a point in time where scientists let's just talk about science for a second. So scientists are of firm believers where it is a repeatable process that they can have a control, and you know they're testing something and they have a control product, and then here's the test. And if they can repeat it enough, then okay, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. So scientifically, this is globally it's repeatable, but it's not repeatable on the same person. So when you have science that gets involved in it, it's just, it doesn't work, it fails. But realistically, I agree, it's one of those things where they got you want to get the ball rolling. They got to take the I don't care if it's an AI and everybody puts their story in code or just written form and let a computer analyze it. At one point or another, there's going to be a common denominator, and they're going to be like, okay, this is what's going on. It's real. I'm a firm believer. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the consciousness aspect of it, but I'm getting there really quickly, especially with the orbs and everything else that I've seen and other people have seen. It's just really frustrating when you have a government that, and in my mind, I live in the United States, I believe the government knows exactly what the heck is going on. I full-heartedly 100% believe that they know what's going on. I believe the power to be, whether it's the government or somebody even higher than that, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if there's somebody higher than the government that says, hey, there's these 5 people in the world that know what's going on 100%, but the world's going to flip out and we just need to make that money. It grinds me. It really grinds me. It's one of those deals where I think the government just needs to release everything.
I get that though, but Tim, I'm going to get you in here now. Isn't this about the military industrial complex in the end? We got 2
Right.
minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the way it's been squirreled away for 75 years. Every little nugget of information that could point towards this has been secreted away. And I think a perfect example is how we've treated our NASA astronauts. Recently, even, they're asking for full disclosure in NASA. They're all ready for UAP events and to look into their books and their history. They want to talk to their astronauts and see what they have to say. Well, you were quieting all of those astronauts for decades. They had to write books because they couldn't talk in public. I find that really distressing. So, I mean, that's where I'm at right now. On to you guys.
Bree, let's get your opinion. Military-industrial complex. Do you think this is the big issue right now for experiencers?
I mean, I would say so, because I know someone in the chat made a good point. Let me see who, so I can give credit, but like they said, like, experiencers want to line up and become guinea pigs because that's exactly what the scientific community will do to them. Well, Robert Garcia said that. Well, I think I can see the military doing tests on subjects also. So yeah, it's hard to say exactly, but yeah, I kind of got off track, kind of zoned out in what I was saying.
That's okay. That's okay. Happens to me all the time. But we're going to start to wrap this thing up here, because the one thing that we do know is this. We do know experiencers have answers. They don't have evidence. But at some point, the UFO community does have to take a step backwards and stop griping about that anecdotal evidence and start accepting it as potential knowledge to move the scientific evidence forward. I think we could all agree on that. Tim, you agree?
I am so right there with you. Thank you for speaking my mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on that note, we're going to conclude this episode of the SOR Roundtable for another month. And it's been an absolute awesome pleasure to have Dirty Filth on here, drawing the Paranormal Roundtable cartoon from our After Hours show. We have Grant Baker and Thin Lizzie Morden hanging on out. You can watch them on our YouTube channel while you're there. Hit subscribe. And from Disclosure Tonight YouTube channel, as well as our UFO report, Tim Seanor hanging on out with us and having a lot of fun. This was a fast show. It moved forward very, very quickly, and we hit some hot button topics of the month that was. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right, we want to say thank you to everybody tonight. we're going to have to call it a little bit shy here. Panel, you guys stick around. We just have to we're just going to yap away here for a couple seconds on some SOR stuff here. So I do appreciate it. I will be back Monday. The After Hours show will be back tomorrow night right before them. It is Jessica Jones coming on in for the Cryptid Huntress Off the Trails. Her guest tomorrow night will be Shane Michael Crisp. They'll be talking about the West Coast Dogman Project. All the action starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a great time. For all of you, thank you for a good week. Thank you for our super chatters. Abe, YJ, Heidi with the hat trick, Flash Forward, Brock, Simon, and Thomas for hanging on out. We really appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend, and we're going to send you out on a happy note.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.